people's house. Big Zeus. People's house. Big Zeus. Pull up to the gate, 1600 on the map. Supposed to be the people's house, I make it like a trap. Marble floors and chandeliers, I'm balling through the wall. Power to the people, yeah, I gotta make that call. Trapping for the team, red and white and blue, that's me. Voices on the block, I'm breaking through, I got the keys. I'm in the lobby, yeah, I'm moving like an OG. Posted in the Oval Office in the executive suite. Signing for the fam, yeah, you know my game strong. Freedom is the banner and I got my chains on. Secret Service watching snipers sitting on the roof. Truth is hitting hard, I bury you inside the booth. Founding father's vision, yeah, I'm flexing with this cash. Big pharma, big tech, turn these dreams to bag. I'm the voice of the hood, trying to come and storm the gates. Balance in my hand, but the system's overweight. They painted white, yeah, but the stains running deep. Promise they selling it, but you know it ain't coming cheap. Legends walk these rooms, Lincoln, MLK, now it's photo ops, power plays all day. I'm trapping for the vote. Big Zeus, it's the people's house. Big Zeus, powers in the air. Big Zeus, we knocking on the door. Big Zeus, we wanna hear your soul. Yeah, yeah. Who you think they asking for? They asking for that smoke. People on the players, yeah, y'all think this is a joke. Take it back.
Greetings.
Like cold. 1600, got your soul. Put my portrait on the wall. They staring at me like I'm cold.
Greatest story ever told. I will never
ever fold. I'm trapping out the West Wing, doing deals all in the dark. Make your dreams come
Greetings,
true.
ladies and
All
gentlemen.
I need
Happy
is a
Monday.
spark. Red phone ringing, but you don't know who's on my line. Got the Constitution jumping, yeah, you know I'm so divine. No stains on my kicks and the rally outside, and the gates is locked. This power never divides. Sitting for the block, head buses make them wanna fight. 1600, do it all day, all night. The people's house is a trap. Got the power, get it back. Money talk loud, time to clap. Fight for the keys, that's a fact. It's a rap, I'ma bring it back. In the people's house, powers in the air. It's the people's house, we knocking on your door. It's the people's house, we wanna hear your soul.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this show started. You know exactly why we are here.
It's like I'm stuck in time. It's like a curse.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Little Hawk. Yeah, not only do I know how to bust a rhyme, but I know how to bust your behind, alright? I saw that.
I'm on top of my game. You can tell that I made it. Look at my grass. Cars in the garage with tanks full. I played it. I won't finish last. Sitting in my living room screaming how we
Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Monday.
The algorithm turned me to a maniac. I guess we going viral cause my zodiac.
I got all these numbers on my spreadsheet. Let's go. Benjamin Franklin is my bestie.
And if they is my ex, that mean they left me. They don't get replies if
They text me. Here it goes.
with my chest cause I mean
Here
it.
it goes.
Got a lot of
It always does the same thing to me every time I hear it.
Call me the master with a
Here it goes.
new whip. I'ma take off this spaceship.
I'll tell you what, I haven't gone into Zeus's live in a
Oh,
couple
you
of
haven't? That's
days.
a lie.
Yes. Shit was radical.
It was
It was horrible. I'm like, Zeus has gone way off the rails.
It's like
Yeah, I figured. Yep, they always say that about me, but it doesn't change a thing.
It's like
Right.
deja vu.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All right, welcome to the show. Once again, we are back in the Thunderdome. I'm your host. I'm your pilot. And you know, once again, why we are gathered, we have to say this great country of ours from guess who? You know who? Donald J. Trump and his legion of MAGA deranged, MAGA possessed demons, aka his supporters, the voters who still support this man despite the fact that everything he does harms them. But before we get into that, let's take care of some very important housekeeping items. For those of you who do not know who I am, I go by the name Zeus, or some like to say Triple H. And why do they call me Triple H, ladies and gentlemen? Well, it's quite simple. The first H, well, it's because I'm honest. The most honest person on social media. There's nobody more honest than me. Am I right, Tiffany, for the people? Am I right, Tiffany? Hands down, nobody's more honest than me. The second H is, it's because I'm humble. All right, listen, if I get it wrong, honestly, I will apologize because, no one's perfect. All right, seriously, I will issue an apology. But here's the thing. Just because your feelings are hurt by the things that I say, that does not mean I owe you an apology at all. Most likely it means you need to sit your special behind down and listen to this special broadcast. All right. I know. And then the final H, ladies and gentlemen, it is because I am, and I will always remain, you've guessed it, the most handsome. Thank you. Now, like I said earlier, you know what we got to do here? We have to wake up daily, Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Pacific time to do this routine that we all have gotten out here, all right? Shout out to the chat. And what it means is we have to hold all Trump supporters accountable. And the way we do that is we judge them over here. Do we judge MAGA over here? You're darn right we do. All right. To all the Trump supporters, you will be judged. All right. And so that's why this show is very important. And so I'll say this. If you do not want to be judged, all right, I don't know why you wouldn't want to be. It's probably the only chance you got to avoid from actually going to hell, aka the lake of fire. You should. But if you do not want to be judged, if you do not want Big Zeus or any of the people that come onto this show to ruin your appetite, ruin your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, and everything in between, which also includes what? Cheez-Its and Diet Coke, then you should do us all a huge, huge favor. You should leave the show, all right? And you could go hang out with these fake TikTok hosts out here, because they will lie to you. I won't. I won't, especially after I saw what I saw yesterday. I saw my friend RC Dubs yesterday in there on Admir's Live. And I just went in there and I said, it's a sad world when these people, they bring their own charts and graphs and they don't know what the heck those graphs mean. And they said something along the line of Obama hasn't done a thing. Obama didn't do a thing. Obama didn't rescue this great country of ours from what happened with George W. Bush. I mean, that's what we all call common sense. You saw the economy roaring back under Barack Hussein Obama, and you're going to get on TikTok with your whole body, not just your whole chest, your whole body. And I don't even need to go into the details of what else he said, because once a liar, always a liar. So graphs don't help MAGA. Facts don't help MAGA. Truth doesn't help MAGA. Only thing MAGA does is worship Donald J. Trump. So I'll say this. Like I said, if you do not want me to ruin your morning, just leave, because it's going to get very, very uncomfortable for you. I promise you it will. But get this. You don't got to take my word for it. Listen to your leader.
If you're not happy here, then you can leave. As far as I'm concerned, if you hate our country, if you're not happy here, you can leave. If you're not happy in the U.S., if you're complaining all the time, very simply, you can leave. You can leave right now. Come back if you want. Don't come back. It's okay too. But if you're not happy, you can leave.
All right. And with that, the doors to the Thunderdome have officially closed. And guess what? I take no responsibility for whatever happens to you. Now, 382 JK Jim 7. I think you're trolling me. You've been following me for a while, but the thing is, you just haven't been paying attention to the things that I've said. So I would appreciate it. 382 W Rick in the chat. 382. I would appreciate it, champ, if you would stop lying in the chat. Do me a huge favor, 382. If you have access to any of those open AI platforms, just type in there and say, list all of the things President Obama did, and then you tell us the results. I'll let you come back up here and just read them to us. No arguing, no debating. Just read to us the results that you get when you enter into ChatGPT. List the things President Obama did. And if it comes back blank, Jim 382, I promise you, I'll shut this account down. All right. If you want to do it like that, I know I don't normally do that. But 382 Jim, knock it off. Seriously, W Zeus. I wouldn't even go as far as to say Trump hasn't done anything. All right, 382 Jim. That's the difference. What I do is point out that the things Trump is doing, they don't help everyday Americans like you and me. All right. And I got proof of that. We might as well get into that, ladies and gentlemen. How many of you all woke up to the news that the sitting president of the United States, once again, is guilty of bribery? He's accepting a $400 million aircraft from Qatar. How many of y'all think that's acceptable? Do y'all think that's acceptable, MAGA, for the president of the United States to be gifted a $400 million jet from Qatar? Any Trump supporters believe that that's acceptable? Because I would love to hear what your justification is. And I won't even debate you. I just want you to come up here real quickly and explain why you believe it is acceptable, all right? I know it's bribery. I know it's corruption. And I'm just surprised you all are okay with the president accepting a gift from another country. So we think that they're going to give us a perfect airplane with no defects in it. Everything's safe and secure. You think Donald Trump is safe flying around in an aircraft from another country? Does anyone think he is safe? Because, we all know what happened during the campaign when he was running. Very scary stuff was happening to him, and they all went and they blamed the Democrats. MAGA blamed the Democrats for everything that happens to Donald Trump that's bad. Now, this situation, I want to know, like, honestly, MAGA, are you going to blame the Democrats again for him accepting this gift? Because I want to know what the spin is, because it makes absolutely no sense. Someone wrote it could be a setup, right? Blackbird, it could be a setup. So once again, the Trump supporters, they're going to sit out here, break the laws, allow their president to place himself in a questionable situation. If anything, y'all should say, listen, Mr. President, out of an abundance of caution, we cannot allow you to accept an aircraft that we don't know what the heck they've done to this thing. You all should be getting up on all of your social media platforms and saying, Donald Trump, please do not accept that. But you won't say that, because as long as you can try to own the libs, it's acceptable. So I said, you know what? That's a strike for Donald Trump and his supporters. All right, it's a strike for him. But then the other thing is, I wake up this morning and, like I said, I heard Donald Trump bent the knee to China. Did he bend the knee to China? And we're going to get something on the record, and then we'll get to judgment. When you have Carolyn Levitt waking up, acting like there's some sort of victory lap that the White House should be running, this country of ours is in great, great trouble. So what we'll do, ladies and gentlemen, is we'll let the press secretary of the United States give us her reaction after supposedly Scott No Deals, I call him Scott No Deals Besant, and Donnie, a.k.a. Two Dolls, I got that from Lawrence O'Donnell. Supposedly, we are now on the up and up with China, and this is just crazy talk right here. All right.
Fox News alert overnight, the Trump administration securing another win, announcing a major tariff deal with China. Trade will be one of the major issues on the agenda when the president makes his high-stakes trip, and the first one to the Middle East. He's going overseas today. White House Press Secretary Caroline Levitt joins us now. Caroline, we just mentioned there's probably 7 major stories. I know I'm going to disappoint somebody by not bringing it up. First off, your reaction, and what could you tell us about the China deal that has tariffs dropping from 145, 125 respectively to 30 and 10?
This is an extraordinary first step in the right direction, and thanks to the strength of President Trump, Secretary Bessent and Ambassador Greer were able to cut this initial deal with China. China agreed to reduce their tariffs on the United States by 115%. They also agreed to continue having discussions about opening Chinese markets to American-made products and goods, and they also agreed to continue seriously discussing the grave impact that Chinese-produced fentanyl is having right here in the United States and our people. So this is a great first step for the American public, and Secretary Bessent, Ambassador Greer, and of course President Trump will continue negotiations with China so we can hopefully inevitably get to a fair and comprehensive big trade deal.
Oh, okay. Who thinks this is a great situation? Who thinks this is a good thing? Because the stock market supposedly is up today. So someone says that stock market is up today, and when Trump supporters brag about the stock market being up, you know what I tell them to do?
Silence, you MAGA demon.
Because when it was down, they were saying stuff like, "Oh, you can't blame Trump for that. He's trimming the fat and stuff like that." So you can't take any credit for the stock market going up. I don't know who you thought you were. You're not going to trick me today. Oh, Zeus, Today is May 12th, and today, that stock market, we're going to give Donald Trump all the credit for that because that's genius negotiation. He's playing 4D chess. And I looked at this and I said, the ports are still empty, MAGA, the ports. And if anything, aren't we basically back to where this all started? I mean, yeah, the damage is done. So he does Liberation Day, April 2nd. He didn't want to do April 1st because he didn't want to actually put himself down on April 1st as a fool, even though that's really what it was. And so he's basically undone Liberation Day for 90 days. Is this where we're at, MAGA? And so now, ladies and gentlemen, you can expect these Trump supporters to be proud this morning. You know what they're going to say? Because you know what I was waiting for? I thought that all these tariffs was designed, part of it at least, was supposedly supposed to be for all those manufacturing jobs that China has. They were supposed to come back here to the United States of America, right? Weren't those manufacturing jobs supposed to come back here? Where are the Trump supporters at that were saying we shouldn't trust China? Because, they were saying we could make those products here. We could make those dolls. We could do everything here. We do not need China at all. And we're going to bring those jobs back here to America. But now what Donald Trump has done, ladies and gentlemen, is he's basically given you back what he took. And only people that believe this is actually a good thing are his deranged and evil supporters who just love watching Donald Trump do the same magic trick over and over. Right, W. Zeus? You know what the same magic trick is that he does, MAGA, right? He goes, here's a hat, and it's an invisible hat. Watch this, MAGA. And he goes, ooh, I just pulled a rabbit out of the hat. And every time he does it, you all get excited. But the damage is done. There's people who's lost their jobs. There's businesses that just will never come back. They said what Donald Trump has done to the economy is equivalent to basically picking up where he left off during the pandemic. And so with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, there's only room for one more thing. And you know exactly what it is. It's judgment time, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. So to all of you Trump supporters out there that are hell-bent on believing Donald Trump is actually doing a good thing, helping you out with this economy, but he's not helping you. He's actually making matters a lot worse. I promise you, this 90 days is going to be another example of the worst 90 days of your life. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what we got to do? Join me in sending these deranged Trump supporters straight to hell.
Silence, you MAGA Dayton.
The thing about it is this. They're going to try to walk around here and brag about the other thing Trump is doing. Supposedly he's supposed to be doing something with the pharmaceuticals. He's supposed to be doing something with these pharmaceuticals, ladies and gentlemen. And I listened to this too. We're going to get this on the record because we got to stop the lies right where they start. All right. And then we'll get to judgment again. Carolyn Levitt, she's on a roll this morning. But the only thing Carolyn Levitt said, honestly, that I actually am very happy to hear is that Donald Trump is leaving the country, all right? I think that's a good thing. Every time Trump leaves the country, it's like, oh, thank God. We needed him to get out of here because he's not doing anything that actually helps us, all right? Let's get to the pharmaceuticals, and then we'll go to the chat.
So this pharmaceutical deal, I'm just going off the Truth Social posts. It says, it's a long one, but he says, I'm pleased to announce that today, the White House at 9 o'clock will be signing one of the most consequential executive orders ever. They will be reducing pharmaceuticals by about 80%.
Oh.
Essentially, we are going to pay less than the country that's paying the least for pharmaceuticals from here on in. How does that work?
First of all, it cannot be overstated how big of a deal this
See, he asked her, how does it work? And what I'm trying to get her to explain to us is, how did we all of a sudden decide it's okay to be a socialist? Carolyn, now MAGA is for socialism. I mean, it's so incredible, MAGA, how you will do anything Donald Trump says, including making yourselves Democrats. It's one of the best, because we all know It was President Biden's idea from the very beginning to lower the prescription drug cost. And actually, if you go actually check into the Inflation Reduction Act, a lot of the provisions in there are actually, they're about to go into effect. And so we all know that Donald Trump is just trying to make it look like the things that Biden set in motion are his idea, because he knows these things are going to be very, very popular with Americans. But let's continue. All right, let's continue.
Executive order that President Trump will be signing in a couple of hours is for American families, and especially our seniors who have been ripped off by very large and rich pharmaceutical companies. The United States of America is less than 5% of the world's population, yet we purchase 75% of Big Pharma's profits. We pay an astronomical amount in comparison to other countries around the world. So the president is signing an executive order today that is going to implement most favored nations drug pricing, and is going to reduce the cost of drugs in this country by more than half at least. America is going to pay a better rate and a fairer rate to the rest of the world. That's what the American people deserve. This is huge news. And also, I will add, we know that healthcare costs and drug prices were the #1 driver of Biden inflation. So not only are we bringing those down, but we are ending Biden inflation once and for all.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. W Zeus. So Carolyn is basically admitting that they're trying to steal President Biden's idea and spin it like it is theirs. All right. So to all the Trump supporters out there, how does it feel to know that Donald Trump has forced you to basically be a Democrat? Any Trump supporters out there, please identify yourselves. Any Trump supporters out there, I just want to make sure I get this on the record. All right. Because it won't take long to do it. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to warm up the lake of fire for them, because they don't want to admit that they've been played like a fiddle by their dear leader. W Shorty Love for the subscription. To all the Trump supporters out there that think this executive order from Donald Trump lowering prescription drug prices, or it's his attempt to, and you think this is a victory, I want to send you straight to hell, because what he's doing is turning you into Democrats, and you don't even know it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Joe Biden.
Silence, you MAGA demon.
Thank you, President Joe Biden. I mean, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, the worst president in American history is going to be who? When it's all said and done, who's going to be the worst president in American history? Does anyone know the answer? Does anyone know who's going to be the worst president in American history when the history books close? I want to make sure. There you go. There you go. Look at it. Taco Trump. Yeah. What blows my mind, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you all. W to the chat. What blows my mind, honestly, but it really doesn't blow my mind anymore. It's cognitive dissonance right now. MAGA. You have all been led down a very, very, very dark and dangerous path. You know, I was thinking about this passage in the Bible. You know, there was a point when the demons ran across the good Lord and they said, listen, why don't you just cast us into the herd of pigs? You know, they're talking to Jesus, because we just don't want to deal with the truth. And, you know, this is what they did. So he said, go ahead, jump into those herd of pigs. And then the pigs ran off the cliff. You know what I'm talking about, Takesha, right? So when I look at MAGA, I go, these are people who sold their souls to Donald Trump, and they did it for a very, very cheap price. They didn't even get anything out of it, right? He promised them money. He promised them prosperity, and not one Trump supporter I've ran across, not one of them I've spoken with, has given me an example of prosperity that has came upon them. I'm asking, especially to the Blaga group, and this is going to be my standing question to Blaga now that I think about it. Have any of you Blaga got y'all Doge checks? Any Blaga got their Doge checks? Because until you get those Doge checks, I just find it a waste of time to even engage, because at the end of the day, I'm waiting for my bag just like you are, W Black Diamond. Thank you. Honestly, has any Blaga, you know, Ken, he comes into here, any of them, have y'all gotten that Doge check? Because until you get your money, you can't really speak up. All right, it's best you just sit your special behind and listen to this sit your special behind down and listen to this special broadcast. Little Hawk says nope. So Blaga isn't making any money right now. As a matter of fact, I've seen some of them, and they're looking terrible out here. These Blaga folks, they getting terrible. They have to spend all their time and energy, and they're doing it for free, going around and telling the racist Trump supporters to stop being racist. Could you imagine? You voted for Donald Trump, right? And you are a person of color. And for the next 4 years, you got to run around this app. You got to run around in your neighborhoods and tell people that also voted for Trump, hey, enough of that. You're being a little too racist. As far as I'm concerned, you can't say anything to these people because you got conned. You got manipulated. You've been bamboozled. And guess what? You still haven't gotten that $5,000. It's so easy. No gold checks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen. All right, so what I've done, ladies and gentlemen, is we've gone as far as we need to this morning, and I see we got a few visitors this morning. Okay, who do we got? Let's start here. Good morning, Moo the Tuxedo Cat. Welcome to the show. Nice to hear from you. How are you doing?
What's up, man? What's going on?
Another day in the kingdom, tending to the affairs. It seems like a lot of these Trump supporters are struggling.
Yeah, I hear you, but I'm kind of tired about talking about it. So what I want to know is, how are we going to win moving forward, right? Because I think it's more important right now that we look at the people within the Democrat Party who don't represent the constituents and aren't going along with the progressive messaging, right?
Yeah.
Because you're right that Biden did cut drug prices. He did, and that was a good thing. But do you think it would be better if he'd have passed H.R. 1976?
Well, what was in that? What was in the H.R. 19?
H.R. 1976 was introduced by a Justice Democrat called Jaya LaPaul, and that is the Medicare for all that this country's been yearning for decades now.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing, Moo.
Yeah.
There's an issue in the Democrat Party, and I'm glad you brought it up. There is a such thing as too progressive in this country, and this is kind of the thing I've been struggling with, because I don't think the vast majority of our population is educated enough to handle all of this, and this is an issue that we're going to have to deal with, because you can't convince people that don't believe what's happening, at this level.
Your angle, though, angle is to demean the voters instead of saying, yeah, man, the Democrats should really work harder to pass Medicare for all so that people have medical care. Your argument is to demean the voter.
Well, Moo, it's not that. It's based on being descriptive, because a majority of the voters in this country made it resoundingly clear that there are some parts of the leftist policies that they just aren't ready to embrace, even though I believe they should. So you can't force people out of their comfort zone, so to speak. It's not necessarily saying all of them are bad. No, I just think a lot of them, they're stuck, and they're saying, I'm not ready to jump off of that cliff just yet. So you have to do it in a way, as far as I'm concerned, it's a marketing exercise. Because it's good for everybody if we have free healthcare for all, in my opinion. You get what I mean?
Is that so this is all your personal opinion, right? This is not based on any facts, because the statistics show that 60% of the American population support Medicare for all. So I'm wondering where you're getting your numbers from, or is it just opinion?
It's both, but here's the thing. We might support it.
Show me the numbers.
No, I won't, but I'll say this. 60% of Americans might enjoy driving to work, but that doesn't mean 60% are going to go out and actually purchase a vehicle. It's all about.
How do we know if we don't bring our own party's bills to the floor? How do we know that?
Well, we know because of the way people vote.
So how do we know how people are going to vote if they've never been able to vote on that bill?
Well, look at what they did this last election. I believe the Democrats did a great job sabotaging themselves. Well, no, I wouldn't say all Democrats, but we did a good job getting in our way. How about that? Even though we may have been standing for the right causes, the messenger may be the issue, right? I mean, we get on our messengers very good over here, even to our own detriment. But I also think, again, it's a marketing issue more so than it's a good idea, because I learned one thing about good ideas. Good ideas alone don't sell themselves.
Let me ask you a question. And I know you tell people not to look at the comments, right? Right. But why is it that when a progressive and a centrist talk, other centrists can't seem to handle the conversation or make any real points, and they just want to say, oh, you're MAGA. I thought you were friendly. I thought you were this. I thought you were that. Why are centrist Democrats so incapable of having a conversation?
I would see now that's opinion, right? Because I'm
It's
very
not opinion. I'm looking at your chat.
I'm very open-minded, right? But I don't think a vast majority of people necessarily want to go over and spend the same amount of effort and energy that I do explaining their position. But I think this is what's happening. At least from how, and I'm glad you brought this up because this just shows, even though we might vote the same way, there might be different things or different styles. I look at it like this past election, right? I remember the main goal to me should have been to get Joe Biden across the finish line, and then things happened, and then we ended up with Kamala Harris. Am I right?
I hear you. Yeah.
But I think what ended up happening is you have a group of people in our party saying things like, well, I'm not a Democrat. Well, what are you? And then they go and explain what they are. You know what I mean?
You say your problem is this, right?
Well, did you hear what I said?
I did.
Do we?
And I don't
We
agree
have
that
people.
That's a problem.
Okay, but what it does, because you and me and a lot of us on the internet, we tend to be like supercharged when it comes to politics, right? We're paying attention, but a majority of Americans, honestly, from where I'm at least, they don't keep up with it. They're watching movies, they're doing sports. So when they hear things like this, it doesn't necessarily come across as we should support the Democrat Party. It seems like we got a group of people that say, yeah, we should support the Democrat, but we got a lot of people out there that are saying, well, I don't know. And so when
Wait a minute.
you pair that up, huh?
Why are you so tied to a party instead of good policy?
Because
Be more tied to good policy for the American people than a party? That seems very MAGA-like.
well, who's going to get the policy passed? Is my question.
Progressives, not centrist Democrats, because
Well-
y'all don't pass any good policy. That's why y'all lost this last election.
But when you go fill out the ballot, doesn't it tell you which party the candidates are in? They don't write progressive Democrat. They just write Democrat or
Let me
Republican.
ask you a question. How come all the Democrats aren't on TV right now advocating for the Medicare for All bill that Bernie Sanders just dropped
Wait a
on
second.
the 13th?
But Mood, you didn't answer my question, brother. When you go vote, it says Democrat, Republican, Independent on that thing, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah.
Okay, so you're confusing people, and I'm just speaking from my own experience. I would be confused for you to say to me, I'm not a Democrat, right? You come to me, you're not a Democrat, and you're for good policies. My thing is like, well, then who are you voting for? Which party are you going to vote alongside?
I think your confusion comes in at your ties to a party instead of policy, right? Because that's wrong altogether. Saying that you would vote for someone just because they have an R or a D in front of their name and you're not basing it on policy, I think that's very MAGA-like.
I don't think that's what I said I'm doing. I think what you're missing is the policy has to be passed by one of those parties, right? Or it's not getting passed. So let me ask you a question. The policies you tend to favor, which party tends to pass them?
Well, neither, because neither party's passing them. See, I favor Medicare for all, and the Dems won't even bring those bills to the... There's a bill, Medicare for all bill right now. How come all the Dems aren't on TV telling people about it? How come you're not telling people about it?
But Moo, so you know what I do, and I'm not like a guru and all these, but I'm asking you just a straightforward question. Which party passes policies, not 100% of them, but which party passes policies that
Well, it used to be the Democrats, but that hasn't been the case since FDR.
So you vote Republican. You vote for Republican
No,
policies.
I vote for Democrats because, of course Harris is going to be better than Trump. There's no question of that. But you have to understand something, Zeus. People are tired of the establishment.
I get that.
That's what MAGA is, right?
But
MAGA is the
you-
breaking of the establishment.
But I agree with that, but we got to be clear-minded as much as possible. So what I understand you're saying is that even though the Democrats aren't delivering on the goods like you would like them to, if it really comes down to it, you most likely are going to support the Democrat Party.
Well, I have to, right? Because
That's
there
kind of
is no
how,
other option.
and that's how I feel, right? Because believe it or not, Moo, I think the Democrats have a lot of work to do.
But here's the difference between me and you.
That's fair.
I will support the Democrat no matter who the nominee is. But before that nominee appears, I'm going to advocate for progressives, because if you guys don't stand on Medicare for all, housing the homeless, ending the corruption in the H2 program, which is why you lost Spanish voters. You don't even know why you lost Spanish voters. How are you going to get them back if you don't know why you lost them? Do you even know about what's going on with the H2 visa program?
What do you want to talk about with the H2?
So that they're subverting the H2 visa program by saying that their work is temporary when it's actually full-time. For instance, there's a mushroom farm up in Seattle. That's year-round work, but they're hiring H2 visa workers as permanent workers, but not temporary workers, but it's actually permanent work. And they bribe the politicians so that they can subvert the requirements of the H2 visa program. One of the requirements is you need to be able to find American workers, prove that you can't find them, and then you can get an H2 worker. You have corporations that are bribing Democrats and Republicans so that they can subvert that. The reason you lost Hispanic workers is because you have all of these farms all over the country that are bribing the politicians not to hire Hispanic American citizens.
But that's your
and
opinion.
Subvert to H2. It's not an opinion. I did a documentary on it the other day.
But
that's your opinion.
Yeah, well, my opinion and your opinion could both be right.
It can't because when
because I've talked to. Have you seen me talking?
Workers,
have you seen me talking to the Latino community on my show?
You didn't
none
even
of them.
know
None of
the
them.
issue
Listen,
I was just talking about.
I get that, but you think people are as technically inclined as you are, Moo. And what I'm trying to get you. No, I don't.
I think the voters are.
I don't think so.
And I think you demeaning them is not great. You keep saying that the voters are not smart. The voters are not smart.
Well, here, Moo.
You think that's a good message?
Moo, I think you being confused and wishy-washy isn't really helping your cause. I don't know about
you being centrist and not getting on board with left-wing populist policy caused you to lose the last election.
Well, I think that's your opinion, and you can say whatever you want. I mean,
it's not my opinion. We're sitting here with Donald Trump as the president, and yet you still won't jump on board with progressive.
I would never listen. Good. And you can do whatever you want to say, or say whatever you want to say, but you don't have all the answers, Moo. And I know you don't because it took you up
on your side of the party.
No, what side are you on? You don't even have a side.
I'm on the progressive side, the left side, the side. So I'm on Al Green's side. You're on the people that censored Al Green's side, right? You're the Jared Moskowitzes, the people that censored Al Green. That's who you represent.
You can say whatever you want to say, all right? And that's, to me, what makes this country a great country. But you couldn't even admit you're a Democrat. You're in the middle. You're somewhere.
I'm an independent.
So, okay, now you're an independent. I thought you were a progressive. I mean, you're all over the map. Listen, Moo. You're all over the map.
Listen, guys, instead of sticking with policy, he's trying to demean me. Instead of saying, yeah, maybe we should get back.
Moo, I'm not going to.
Me.
You're right.
Let's stick to policy, Zeus.
No.
Stick to policy instead of attacks, right?
No. I won't sit up here and. I won't sit up here and allow you to just run around and act like you don't got to actually put your foot.
And allow you to
well, you're free to drop.
Good argument.
You're free to
drop. You MAGA Damon.
W Zeus in the chat. See, that's what I mean, Moo. You're not going to get up here and try to pressure Big Zeus into going down a path with you where you can't even articulate your position. 1 minute you're a Democrat, the next minute you're a progressive, the next minute you're I don't like Trump supporters. You're all over the place. You don't really have a platform and you're just spewing nonsense. All right, if you want to speak for the Latino community, great. Hold alive. I'll go and watch you do it. But you can't get anybody to go along with you. I've seen you and I've listened to you before. You seem like you're coming from a good place, but unfortunately, bro, if this was Shark Tank and you came up here, you were like, well, Zeus, we need to go and do this and that. And I'm listening to you. Okay, guess what? I'm out. W Zeus. And here's the other thing, Moo, the difference between you and I. If the Democrats put forward a candidate that I felt, honestly, was a terrible candidate, i.e. someone with the qualifications of a Donald Trump, I would have no problem saying, you know what? That's a bridge too far because it's not just about the party. It's also about the person. All right, W Zeus. That's actually, and you know what? And I love Moo because I think he speaks from the heart and he tells how he feels. But unfortunately, I have my limits. All right, and I just honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot get behind. And you know what? It makes me really go back to what happened during the campaign. You know, Joe Biden, we saw what happened. The Democrats, they said, you know what? We don't want Biden to go ahead and continue. And, that's fair. But you confused a lot of people about where you stand and which candidate you support. And so when it was time to vote, you could go talk to most people who don't follow politics. A lot of people don't even know why Joe Biden stepped down. Did you know that? Nobody cares about no H2, whatever. No one's talking like that out here. All righty then. Let me move on, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my gosh. Oh, look at that. We got some good people out there. Oh my God. Good morning, Nutty. How are you doing?
I am doing great. So I'm just going to get straight to it. I hope you're doing well. I'm going to get straight to it. The reason why the Democrats lost is because we have people like Moo. Like you said, that continuously confuse the people. So here's the thing. Moo is a very intelligent, articulate guy, 100%. He knows what he's talking about, but here his display of exerting what he's talking about is absolutely foul. He knows, now Moo knows that the Republicans control all three branches of government. It is a trifecta. The reason being that H2 whatever was not introduced is because the Republicans, they hold the House of Representatives, and the Speaker of the House gets to choose which bills get to the floor, which bills do not. Moo, you know this. So to get up here and to try to challenge someone like they don't know what the hell they're talking about, dude, go sit down somewhere. You're the reason why the Democrats lose. Because you can't make up your mind if you were going to be for us or you're going to be against us. And I may not call myself a Democrat. That's fine. But I am absolutely a progressive. And I will absolutely vote for progressive issues. But here's the thing. Progressive issues will never be on the ballot if we can't get a Democrat in there to push those things. We have to get the Democrat in office in order to push progressive ideology.
That was my point.
You
That
know
was
how
my
this
point.
works.
W Nutty, all right? I mean, that was my point. Will the progressive ideology be pushed by MAGA or not? What do you think?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And for him to get up here and do that, whatever that was, it's disingenuous because he knows. That's why he would not answer your question. It is the Democrats that always push everything that's going to help the mass of the American people.
And you know what he should have
100%.
did? You know what I was waiting for him to say? I was waiting for him to go, thank you, Barack Obama, for the Affordable Care Act. I was waiting for him to say something like that. But it's like, it's never enough. It's never enough.
Never. And that's why we lose. Because we have people like him that can't ever get on board with a specific candidate, but yet he say, well, obviously I'm going to vote for the Democrat. You know what, Moo? Here's what I'm going to do. Don't ever vote for another Democrat in your life because we don't want voters like you. We want voters who can be free thinkers. We want voters who's going to stand on every conviction. We want voters smart enough to know that we can't get progressive ideologies done until we get a Democrat in that seat.
There you go. Moo, you didn't have to drop. Because you know what he did? He opened up the can that needed to be opened up on the show. You know, we bash MAGA, but honestly, there's a lot of feelings out there about what they did to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in the name of being progressive. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's a lot of raw emotions out there.
Zeus,
because remember,
Zeus, make it clear. I'm not bashing MAGA today. I'm bashing him. I want to make it clear. I want all 1.5K people to know I'm bashing him. I don't care if he does vote for a Democrat. I don't care because I'm sick of the ignorance. You are 100% correct, sir. You are. It was people that's in Congress that are like Moo that pushed Joe Biden out. It's people like that.
We were on the show.
Do I think Kamala Harris was a great candidate? Absolutely, I do. But would I have rathered President Biden continue on in the race? 100% I would have. Because here's the deal. Let's tell the truth and shame the devil. If Kamala Harris had been a white cis male, she would have mopped the floor with Donald Trump. Y'all get up and y'all want to criticize Joe Biden because Joe Biden told the truth. that when he said sexism is the reason why Kamala lost, he told the truth. All stuttering and all, he still told the truth.
Amen.
I'm sick of this crap. I'm sorry, go ahead, Zeus. He gets my blood boiling.
No, but I'm glad he got it out because it needed to be, you know, it's like we got to address these things. And again, I don't believe, you know, he has like free health care for all, right? That was his thing, right? And he's wondering where the bill is at and how come it didn't get passed and all this other stuff. But I'm sitting here going, where on the right where you get anything like that to come out of their party in terms of their agenda? You won't get anything like that. So to bash the Democrat Party, it blows my mind. And then say at the same time, well, Zeus, don't you think you are hurting my feelings? He didn't say those words, but he said, am I hurting his feelings? And I'm sitting here saying, how could you make this about you in a moment like this with all of this stuff going on? That's another issue. That's another issue.
I keep going back to the point that you made. It's such a simple point, but it's so profound. When you had key Democrats pushing Joe Biden from stepping down, it did confuse a lot of people. It absolutely did, because it also garnered this talking point that you've heard on your show. Oh, no one ever elected Kamala. Kamala didn't. It created that talking point. It created yet another distraction for the exception of the fact that Joe Biden had a great record to run on.
Instead of getting behind it and saying we can improve it, it was, well, we got to throw the baby out with the bathwater and let Donald Trump come back in. And at least, you know, when he gets in, we'll be able to go out and protest, which is, okay, that's an angle. That's an angle, but look at the damage he's doing.
And here's the final point I want to make. When President Obama got the Affordable Care Act passed, did we like the bill in its totality?
No.
Absolutely not. But what the Affordable Care Act did, it provided a framework, a foundation that has never been built in this country for people to have health insurance so we can build off of that. Because now that we have that foundation, now that foundation has been built, we can now start talking about a single payer system. Now that foundation has been built, we can now say universal health care for all. Because how can we say universal health care for all when we don't have health care for anybody?
Amen. Somebody said you got to crawl before you walk.
Now, so there's a couple things that just makes my blood boil like this. It's Blagga and people like Moo. that people like Moo, he probably trumps the Blagga for me. Because he's supposed to be on the side of right. But his ideology is just jacked up. I wanted to say effed up, but mama's watching.
Gotta keep it clean. But he can believe whatever he wants to believe, though, honestly.
I don't care if he believes it. But to get on here and spew it, the voters, you know what? I'm not afraid to say it. We have an uneducated populace in this country. We're just uneducated. To be the supposed richest country in the world, the most developed nation in the world, we have an ignorant populace. They don't do their own research. So you have to spoon feed these fools like they're babies. So it is what it is. So therefore, because we break it down to kindergarten terms, it's not saying we're demeaning them. We're spoon feeding them to help them understand, hey, this is the way we think you should vote based on your own interests. We want someone in there that's going to not only be good for you, but that's going to be good for Johnny next door and Susie next door down the road from them and everybody on the block and everybody in the neighborhood and in the city and in the county and in the state, et cetera, et cetera. That's what the Democratic ideology is.
Amen.
I don't agree with everything with the Democrats.
Yeah, no one does. But I'd be crazy, honestly, to go out here nutty and be like, oh, Well, I'm not telling you who I support, but you know, because they're both corrupt and they're both crooked. And then you go, well, who's in the government running it? It's either a Democrat or a Republican. There's some independents out there, but for the most part, you got to pick one of the parties. When you get your ballot, do they write down Democrat, Republic, and Independent
No,
on there?
it says
Don't they?
it says D or R or an I,
There you go. It's the same thing.
and the I is never going to get it. The fact that Bernie Sanders keeps getting elected in Vermont as an independent is because those people know him. Has nothing to do with that I next to his name. But the fact is, if Bernie Sanders were to retire and another independent in Vermont ran as an independent, I guarantee you he would not win.
So you think it's just because it's him?
Bernie
Populism.
earned the right to be an independent. And I'm not knocking on Bernie because I love Bernie Sanders. I think his ideals are wonderful. But let's just tell the truth and shame the devil. Until
Amen.
Democrats can get the trifecta, and we need a supermajority, so when the Republicans try to stop us, we can still ram these things through like they're doing to us.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm done.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, W Nutty. I mean, you know, the show is open for all political walks of life. It doesn't necessarily matter, all right? I mean, if we got to have these, you know, I call these very difficult conversations, then guess what? We'll have these very difficult conversations. You know, we're all entitled to our opinion. Good morning, Takesha. How are you?
Hey, Zeus.
How are you? Well, you didn't ask me, but I was going to say I'm doing okay. Yes.
You know, I'm always gonna ask you, but first, let me say you have the patience of Job. That's number one. But I gotta throw a plug out there right quick. Can I throw a plug?
Yeah.
Okay, so my son's job has moved him to another city to work. So he had to get an apartment. So I'm trying to help him get the things he needs for his apartment. Now, I just want y'all to know that my Cash App is in the bio if you want to donate anything to help me furnish my child's apartment.
Okay.
Because what I've learned is that these coins, they are taking the majority of my coins, and I'm not making any money off these coins.
Oh,
but
no.
if you would like to help me furnish my baby's apartment, my Cash App's in the bio.
All right, W Takesha. That Cash App is in the bio.
And thank you to the ones that already have. Now, Zeus, let me say this.
Go ahead.
Moo. I was done with Moo last year when Moo tried to downplay the black people and what we went through and what we protested for with the protests of today. I was done with Moo last year when he did that on your show. What I don't understand is how you're going to come on somebody's show and try to berate them and insult them and make it seem like they don't have a heart for really what's going on. And I just didn't like the way he got up here and did what he did, because he could have took that to another platform, because he watches you and he knows how you do your platform. He knows what you stand for, and you've always been a fair person on your platform. If people want to talk about how they want to progress and all that, they need to go live. Everybody has a chance to go live on their own platform. Now, enough is enough. Stop coming to other people's platform, trying to down talk them. The one thing he said was this: Democrats didn't bring it to the floor. Zeus, we had some Democrats that voted with the Republicans. So I don't care if they bring it to the floor in a wagon. That don't mean that all the Democrats gonna support it. What part of that is he not understanding?
I can't speak for him, but to me, Takesha, I was very concerned that he just can't admit that he supports the Democrats, even though they're flawed. You know, we're flawed. The right's flawed.
Very flawed, Zeus.
But I just don't get that we don't have enough common sense to understand that our chances are better if we continue to keep, you know, holding the Democrat Party accountable. I just don't get that. And if it wasn't a situation where Donald Trump was the candidate coming in, because we've been talking about all the dangerous stuff Donald Trump was going to do, if it wasn't that Jurassic, I'd be like, you know what, I can bite on that, I can give. But we really didn't have any wiggle room. And for this,
but Zeus, the thing is, we always criticize our own party. We don't get up here and talk about how great they are all the time. We have issues with our own party, but we cannot divide from the party when we trying to get stuff done.
What does it
Like
say? It
they
has.
said,
Yeah.
you can't get a Democrat
Tiff.
policy in if you don't have a Democrat as the president.
Even alter ego knows that.
That's what I'm talking about, Zeus. So we're going to go past that. But Zeus, how you feel about my boy getting his jet from Qatar?
Oh, Trump getting that the gift from Qatar. Oh, we know that's corruption and it's at its highest levels. Because one thing I've learned in life, there's no such thing as a free lunch. You
Let
know?
me tell you something. They're going to have all kind of cameras and microphones on that plane. They're going to listen to everything.
There you go. Yeah.
You know, all you gotta do is flatter him with gifts. And he think you so in love with him, Zeus. They gonna have all kind of devices on that plane. They gonna think they sweeping for bugs and everything. And they ain't gonna find them but the can of Raid on the plane, Zeus. But if it
Bingo.
had been President Obama or Joe Biden, if somebody had even gave them a new golf cart, they would have sworn it was corruption.
Yeah.
But this man finna get a whole plane
Oh,
from
plane.
Qatar.
Yeah.
Zeus.
And not one Trump supporter has any questions.
They don't have no issue with it, Zeus. You know why? Because they don't have an issue with him about anything he does. Like he made executive orders to get rid of Joe Biden policies, and now he coming back with Joe Biden policies trying to put him in his name.
Thank you. So in other words, he's forcing MAGA to be Democrats too. I mean, the way you all end up being supportive of Democrat policies and becoming socialist because Trump says it, it's amazing and it's incredible.
It's a wonderful feeling to know. It's a wonderful feeling to know that even though he did executive orders to get rid of stuff, that he bringing Joe Biden policies back, but under his name, Zeus. That's all he doing, Zeus.
Yeah.
But they won't know that because they never tried to see what Joe Biden actually got accomplished. So they're going to give a credit to Trump, and he knows this because he knows they didn't pay any attention, Zeus.
Yeah. But it's just amazing that they don't even want Congress to look into it and at least investigate it to make sure everything is above board. You know, it's just amazing.
Zeus, we don't have a Congress. If you just be honest, Zeus,
Yeah.
Donald Trump is really just doing what he want to do, and nobody can stop him. Nobody's trying to stop him. So Zeus is just on him. They not gonna say anything to him about a plane. They not gonna say anything to him about the wrong he doing because before he got in, Zeus, he was already controlling that party.
Yeah.
And he's still controlling them, Zeus. So there's nothing we can get done until midterms, and we can get him out of there.
Amen. And hopefully, you know, midterms come around, people wake up and realize how the grave situation that we're currently in, and they go and vote and do the right thing. Am I right, Takesha?
Exactly, Zeus. One last thing. They already waking up, baby. I've already seen them when they laying in bed and people pouring cold water over their face while they sleep. They waking up, Zeus. Believe me, they waking up.
That's what I like to hear. That's what I like.
Want one thing, Zeus. I'm gonna wait on President Xi to come out and tell us what actually happened because I don't trust that administration on nothing.
Thank
y'all
you.
went over there begging that man after y'all tried to make it seem like they had to come over here to us. Them folks ain't came this way. Y'all went over there.
Amen.
Lord, you caused the problem and you went over there to fix it because you thought that them folks were gonna bow down to Donald Trump and they ain't bent damn knees.
You don't consider it China bent the knee because the deal that just they took 115% off the tariffs.
Zeus, China standing up so straight they probably got a popsicle stick by their knee so it won't be.
Hey, there you go. Well, I have to take your word for it. I'll wait for President Xi as well because you can't trust.
I want to wait on him to see what really happened.
All right, well, fair enough. All right,
Zeus.
W's in the chat for Takesha, and make sure you hit the Cash App. All right. Charity begins at home. All right.
Well, you know the Bible say you have not because you ask not.
Amen. Now, as you all can see, ladies and gentlemen, today is an excellent show. Actually, I like today's show because we're getting a lot of the real issues that are percolating addressed. Good morning, the beautiful Tiffany for the people. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. How are you? Long time no see.
Right. Well, it's interesting. You're up in the box today. It's a rare thing to see you. So I hope all is well.
I've been busy. Hi, Kingdom. Hi, everybody. Good to see everybody. Okay, let's just start out here. Mo. First of all, I caught you last year being incredibly strange, just like Takesha said, right? Mo, let's make one thing very crystal clear. Moo is a flip flopper, and that fish is stinky. Okay, flopping like a fish. Okay.
Flip flopper. That's an interesting one. You think
Because
so?
Go ahead.
No. You think so? Because I'm trying to listen to the feedback he was trying to give me, and I'm trying to find what is it he's trying to really say.
I don't know, but what he's doing is just honestly probably really close to being as problematic as what MAGA does, right? He comes in here and it's like he slips into these weird pockets of like switching back and forth between being, I don't like the whole independent. Does that even exist in 2025? I don't know. Is that a thing? Because what we saw too over the past decade in elections was that people who claimed to be independents were like, oh, I'm going to vote for Bernie Sanders, maybe voted for him and then switched to Trump, right?
Yeah. W Tiffany for the people.
And I think that is still probably happening.
Yeah.
And another thing I wanted to touch on, right? Okay, let's be very, very clear and direct about this. When he was talking about how, he's like, Zeus, do you think that's a good strategy to call what? Was he saying that you were
demeaning the voters?
Oh, what, MAGA?
Well, in his case, he felt I was demeaning him. I think I know what you mean when I said we have a good chunk of the country that isn't educated, and he got a little upset about that.
That part.
Yeah.
I really get extremely annoyed with this whole anti-intellectualist trope. I get really tired of it, as if people who have educations don't work extremely hard to get said degrees, and you want to act like everybody deserves a seat at the table that can have the same conversation as people who have literally studied things and went to school and invested in themselves and time. It's not to say you can't have any smarts if you didn't get a college degree, but not everybody can have certain discussions.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So like if William or Moo or whoever from Kansas wants to sit here and have an honest conversation about biology or science with a certified doctor, is not going to be able to have certain discussions because they're not educated on these topics.
And I would argue that the doctors talking to a person like that would come across as, very condescending, right? Because the information is just at a level that they are not able to grasp. And it's just a byproduct. And so that's why it's very important when you're having conversations and it involves having a different opinion or different perspectives, you keep that in mind. All right. But the facts are the facts at the end of the day.
Exactly. And so I feel like what he does, and again, I find him to be a misogynistic, but I'll keep it clean. Okay. But what he does is I feel like he comes in here and yes, it changes from day to day. And what he's doing, and this is the problem when what we saw in the election, this past election with Kamala Harris, is when all the people that think this way, a lot of these people that either sat home and didn't vote or did this weird kind of like justification to not vote for Kamala Harris. And now we are in the place we are because of that.
And that's to me what the issue is now. Are we closer to getting some of the progressive values put in the law, or did we kind of go backwards? And to me, it just seems like we're going backwards because a lot of the damage that's being done, some of it you can't repair.
Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah.
I want people to realize that we can't get anywhere to progress. And yes, like you said, we're immensely flawed. And that's what I'm saying. We also have people like Moo in our circle that we're like, I'm like side-eyeing you. What are you doing?
So there's some doubt about
a lot of doubt and just like questioning of what do you really stand for, right?
Yeah. That's all I want when I talk to people out in the regular, because it's not just me talking to people on TikTok, right? You go out and you start talking to people. A lot of the conversations that I have on TikTok, a majority of the people that I speak with, they're like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? And it's kind of like something that I've tried to be more self-aware about when I'm engaging people off the app. I'm like, yeah, a lot of people aren't keeping up with all the things Trump is doing daily. And a lot of the stuff he does goes viral. And it kind of just seems like, if I'm not paying attention to what's going on, it seems like he's the one that knows what he's doing to a lot of people.
Yeah. And we still, and as much as we keep, our feet on MAGA's neck, we have to make sure too that we apply this similar pressure to people in our space, right? Because we make mistakes as well.
Yeah.
And there's some infiltrators in our spaces that are people like Moo, who are incredibly problematic, right? And need to be called out for those. I believe need to be called out for those things.
Fair enough. Well, I hope he's still here and he's listening, because I didn't drop him, ladies and gentlemen. He dropped himself. But I hope he is listening, because part of the way that this show runs is you're going to get the feedback, right? If you get in the box, you're going to get the feedback. W, Tiffany, for the people. And you gotta be an adult about it, because if I could take the heat, you should be able to as well.
Absolutely. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody. And thanks for having me, Zeus.
All right. Listen, all right. And thank you for coming up. As always, W, Tiffany, for the people. No lies detected again, ladies and gentlemen. We got to do this in order to save this great country of ours. I mean, at the end of the day, you're not going to convince Zeus at all that Kamala Harris, would have been worse than Donald Trump. It's just never, ever going to be something I will allow myself to believe. All right. And that's just where the cookie crumbles. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we got a great lineup of people, and I'm going to try to get through as many of them as I can. Oh, my gosh. Who do we have next? Let's see. Okay, I see you attacking. Oh, my God. I see you, Val. Why doesn't it let me bring you up, Val? I hit accept on you, Val, but it's not letting me. So what I'll do, Val, maybe you could drop down and come back up. Actually, it's not even letting me bring up attacking. Isn't that something? That's not even letting me. I'm trying to hit accept, and it's not even allowing it. That's crazy. That is so crazy. Yeah. That is crazy. It's not letting me accept anybody. Even though I see you. Oh, look at that. It worked this time. Wow.
I had to drop and come back.
Okay, yeah, I was trying to bring up others, but okay, you're the first one it worked with. All right, so what do you got for us?
Well,
let's did it, Ange. Okay, thank you, Ange. You might have to do the next one. All right.
Yeah. Let's start with Moo, because he started this argument with me last week. So let's go, Moo. Moo, I tried to tell you what the problem was, but now I'm going to friggin' prove it to you. What you don't understand, Moo, is when you come up and argue with some people, you don't know the data that they actually have. Because of my work on campaigns, I have more data than most people actually see. Moo, let me make this real straight for you. Americans that consider themselves conservative are far conservative, or 37% of this country. Americans that consider themselves moderate are 34% of this country. Americans that consider themselves liberal or far liberal are 25% of this country. Now, I want you to understand, Moo, that when you talk about this, and we had this discussion the other day, when I said we have to promote to the moderates of this country, I wasn't kidding. Because moderates can go either way. They can vote either way. You need to understand these things when you're talking about a political discussion, because numbers matter.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about liberal and very liberal like you, okay, there's a point in time, Moo, that you can go so far left that you become right. And that is a problem. That is a problem we're seeing. It's a problem that the Democratic Party has had for a long time. It is the problem that we're seeing out of the Republican Party, because the conservatives, the very conservatives, we all know what very conservative means. The very conservative has taken over their side of the party, and it has created problems for the country. If we went to a situation that the far, far, far left did the exact same thing, we would have the exact same problem and the exact same outcome, sir. Moderate is how the country runs. Programs that work for all and not one group are how the country runs. That is how it runs the best. That is how it's always ran the best. And that is what we've got to get back to, is actual reality. Okay? These things need to end. You coming up here spewing about numbers you really know nothing about, because you don't see the data. You talked about Hispanics. Sir, 80% of Hispanics that were polled that voted for Trump based on a religious issue, abortion.
Oh, so it had nothing to do with the H-2
No.
visa, because he said something about the H-2 visa,
No,
and
he acts like most of these people have any clue about it. They don't, sir. And so you also know Cuban Hispanics, when they're asked about this question, it's always the communist word that comes out, because they were absolutely scared of communism. When you talk about Hispanics, so you got to understand you're talking about multiple groups. You're talking about South America, you're talking about Puerto Rico, and you're talking about Cuban Hispanics most of the time. This is what we're talking about, sir. So in Hispanic groups, a lot of it comes from misinformation because they have language barriers from the very beginning. Most everything is in American, so they get translations from that based on what the president says or based on the news that's out there. And this is a problem with most Americans, sir.
Yeah.
Now you can hate the numbers all you want, but they're reality. So when you talk about moderates and the Democrats together, that's 59% of the country. So when I say you have to placate to moderates, you do. Whether
If you
like
want to
it or not.
win,
If you want to win.
that part, because he can do whatever he wants to, in my opinion. But I was sitting here listening, and I was just sitting there going, if what Moo is saying is the good idea, I don't think he's not selling it to me in a way that makes me feel comfortable with it, so to speak. But I support a lot of progressive ideas at the same time.
I support progressive ideas, and I want progression in this country, but I want it with the understanding that progression takes time. We are not a now country.
Correct.
We've been fighting for health care for all on the Democratic side and the moderates for decades. But we want to see a plan that works. And the truth of the matter is, Moo, nobody has ever really brought us a plan. If you really want to get down to the truth of it, people have put out papers on Medicare for all and all this stuff, but nobody's ever gone through and showed us how that plan will work.
Well, he's saying stuff, and you brought up something, and I wanted to ask Moo. Hey, Moo, welcome back. As Val was talking, I was thinking, one of the things that I think I'm not really clear on that you could help us out with is when you're talking about the progressive agenda, what are there in terms of our national security? What is the agenda behind that? What is the game plan?
As far as what you're talking, border policy, or
Well, I think progressives, from what I see, they have to address the issues that surround national security, right? If they're talking about placing a candidate in office, and I want to know what the agenda is behind that, right? With all these conflicts breaking it.
Yeah, the progressive agenda would be to have free travel throughout the states like the EU, to build transcontinental high-speed rail that connects Mexico, Canada, and the United States, because that will help farmers distribute their products quickly and efficiently throughout the countries, and that will help improve the economies down in Central and South America. It'll also improve the immigration system. That's how you improve immigration, right? By improving the economies down in Central and South America. What better way to do it with the same tool we used to
And who tried to
industrialize
do
the
that?
United States, the train?
And who tried to do that?
Who did they tell that they were trying to do it?
Who actually did that?
I don't know. Maybe they didn't talk about it enough. You guys have a problem with messaging, it seems.
With messaging? No, I'm pretty sure the message was out there what Kamala Harris did in the Triangle countries.
Really? Can anybody in chat tell me if Kamala Harris advocated for high-speed rail?
I'm not talking about high-speed rail. I'm talking about building the economies.
I'm talking about high-speed rail.
Sir, high-speed rail is
and free
decades
travel.
old. High-speed rail is
So you
decades.
don't have any plans for free travel?
High-speed rail is decades rail, and so you know
It's
you're
decades
actually
away
wrong
'cause
about
centrists
that.
like you stop it from
What's the
happening.
only state working on high-speed rail right now, Moo? Do you know?
California?
No.
California?
You'd be wrong.
It's California.
Yes, you're wrong. Yet again.
Gavin Newsom was
You're
trying to buy and
wrong.
build
Yet
high-speed
again.
rail.
He called for it.
You're
They
wrong.
never worked
Gavin,
on
you
it.
want me to look it up?
Texas actually
You want me to
has a
look it up?
plan for
Let me ask
high-speed
you a
rail
question. How come-
running
how
from
come- how come you
Dallas-Fort
guys
Worth
lie?
to Houston.
Well,
guys
California
lied
does
the other
have
day
something
about-
too out here about the high-speed rail. I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
I know about
Yeah,
that,
but
but
he
hold
has-
on.
Listen.
But Moo.
No, because he has no problem lying to you.
No.
Because he will lie about David Hall getting paid by the DNC, which isn't true either. So understand when Val's up here, he won't be legitimate.
What did I say
with
about
you.
David
He'll tell
Hall
me
getting
I'm
paid
wrong.
Hold on.
Even though I know. Yeah,
I don't want to get on. I don't want to get onto that mood. my question, even though we talked about high-speed rails, and we can have that discussion, I was seriously asking you, when it comes to matters of national security.
I'll tell you what, Val. No. We're
Move.
gonna end this. Val,
Move.
you come to my live.
Move.
You come to my live.
I wouldn't give you the time of
I
day.
had to move.
Yeah, because you can't win. That's why.
Jesus, move. If you can't stay on topic, then we got to move on. But honestly, when I'm looking at a candidate that's running to be the president and I'm looking at the party, I want to know where they stand on matters of national security. Now, you tried to go and turn it into immigration, but that's not necessarily what I was dealing with when I'm talking about national
Then
security.
be more specific, because that's
Okay,
very
okay.
broad.
So we have conflicts with our world, with other world leaders like Russia. All right, you know who he is, Putin. We're talking about the things happening with Israel. We're talking about it could be China. What is your agenda in terms of how to deal with those countries? How are you proposing we deal with these countries?
Sure. In which situation would you like me to cover first?
Just give me where do you stand with Russia?
Sure. So we need to help Ukraine, right? But we also need to be aware that the weapons and anything we send to Ukraine requires capital. We borrow our capital from people like Japan, people like China, because we don't tax the American taxpayer for war. That would lead to a revolution real quick. So what I suggest is we try to further.
No, hold on. I got to
if we
stop him
can.
right there. What do you mean we don't
Go
tax
ahead.
the American taxpayer for war?
We don't
You wanna
tax the
explain
American
that?
people for war. Sure,
We
we borrow
don't?
money from Japan.
We don't, sir?
But yeah, sure. Go ahead and show me
does the
data
money,
where we do.
where does the money from the defense budget come from, sir?
So we don't tax American people when we go into places like Iraq, right?
Well,
Sir,
we
I'm gonna
borrow
ask
money
you
to go
this
into Iraq,
one
Val?
more time. Where does the
So-
money for the defense budget come from?
Where did the money to go into Iraq come from?
What, sir, one more time. Where did the
Sir,
money
I'm going
from
to
the
ask you, where
defense
did the money
budget
for
come
Vietnam
from?
come from? Where did the money for the
Okay,
Vietnam conflict come
but
from?
and again, I think we all can agree the taxpayers help get the money to the Department of Defense. But Moo, my thing is
Sure, but that's
what
not
I'm
the money we use to conduct war.
But Moo, what I'm looking for.
It's exactly the money we use to conduct
No,
war,
it's
sir.
not. We borrow money from Japan. We borrow
my
money from
God.
China.
Okay,
Yeah.
Moo, that's what you believe. But again, I'm looking for concrete answers about okay, the
Not
candidate.
what I believe. If you'd
who's
like,
the
I can
candidate?
bring up Richard Wolff.
No, who is the?
Confirm it. Do you know who Richard Wolff is?
I don't know who he is, but can I say this?
I
Moo.
probably listen to Richard Wolff over Val.
Okay, but Moo, who is the candidate that you believe the Democrats should put in office now that has our national security interests in mind that aligns with your? Who is this person?
Let me see who I picked.
Because to me, the president has to be able to stand up when it comes to national security. I want to know who the person is when it comes to how they're going to address immigration.
The director of home. I would pick the deputy director of the ACLU.
What's
right
her name?
now. Hang on.
What's-
let me
what's her
get
name?
name. Hang on 1 second.
Because this is to me what I've been looking for. Just tell me who the person is that aligns with.
You're going to pick a director of the ACLU
Deputy director of ACLU.
to run defense?
I mean, and he can do this, Val. It's just for me.
To run the Department of Homeland Security.
No,
You're
I
talking
said
about the State Department.
I'm talking about
Which
for
department
president, bro. I'm trying to say like
AOC.
yeah. Okay, so what is her position when it comes to addressing matters of national security, i.e., Russia? What is she plan? What is she saying about what she would do with Ukraine and Russia? What is it?
Yeah, AOC sees a future of a multinational culture, right? Multinational culture, a global culture, to where we're all intertwined eventually. That's what progressives are looking to do. We're not isolationists. We know that you have to work on a global scale. So you need to be as diplomatic as possible in situations. I'll tell you one thing she won't do. She's not looking to start wars. She's not looking to protect America's power by borrowing money from Japan, by borrowing money from China to conduct wars, which is how America's always maintained its power.
Got it. I will look into that. All right. And I appreciate you giving me that information because honestly, I think to what Val was saying earlier when it talks about where a majority of Americans are, I just want you to know in my talks with people outside of TikTok, and I do this intentionally, these are the things that they're worried about. Our national security, education, right? Immigration. And I believe that to me, if we really want to put forward a candidate or someone that reflects the values of the party, we got to have real good answers for those areas as well, and not just things like free healthcare for all, which I'm totally in support of, right? And all the other things that tend to align progressively, in terms of like women and their reproductive freedom. Those are very important.
I'd like to say one more thing before I hop.
Actually, and you could actually get me on universal basic income too. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Val will advocate to you that change has to happen slowly, folks. It's not true. It's not true at all, right? If you lifted the cap on Social Security and taxed all income into Social Security, you could lower the age to 55. And that's something you could do very quickly that would help all of the working Americans in this country. The fact of the matter is, centrists like Val up there are scared of change. And they want to cling on to the
not,
establishment.
sir. I firmly believe in lifting the cap. I firmly believe in actually taxing the wealthy for that. You're wrong. See, you're trying to put words in my mouth, but you're absolutely
you need to
wrong.
jump on with progressives. You need to jump on with progressives.
No, sir, I don't.
Stop. So why is Jasmine Crockett coming out this morning and saying that Democrats are planning to run the safest white boy possible? Why did Jasmine Crockett say that? You guys haven't even had a primary yet, and you already have a candidate in mind. And that's not me saying that. That's Jasmine fucking Crockett.
I don't know, and Jasmine Crockett, you know what? I'll actually ask her that question personally.
Please talk bad about Jasmine Crockett.
Because I
Please
can't.
do.
Hold on, sir. What you don't understand is I will ask her that question
Please demean Jasmine
because
Crockett in front of Zeus. That's a great idea.
Hold on. If she said it, then she should be able to answer it. And I don't know exactly what the words are. That's why I'm looking for the video. But I think what she's speaking on, Moo, is the reality that we just saw what happened to Kamala Harris.
She's speaking on the reality that you guys...
What's the reality?
Standing on policy, the reality is this. Instead of being able to stand on policy because you take so much corporate money, which you can't do, right? You have to pick the safest white boy possible. That's how you can so quote unquote win. Because you don't have policies for people. You won't stand on Medicaid. You will. You personally will. But your politicians won't. Bernie Sanders has a bill. And I heard Nutty. He said, well, Republicans have the whole Congress right now. Yeah, but guess what? Even though that's true, Al Green still managed to stand up yesterday and drop articles of impeachment because it's about the message to your constituents. It's not about
Moo,
getting the
I'm going to go off teleprompter for a second, Moo. I'm going to go off teleprompter. I believe, because I can interpret what Jasmine Crockett said, and I'm only taking your word, what she's pointing out is the fact that this past election, sexism and racism were on the ballot. And
unfortunately, that's true.
I don't deny that. That's true.
So again, it goes back to what I said to you earlier. You have to remember this, Moo. A good idea alone can't sell itself. You have to remember that.
That's wrong, sir.
Okay, you know how you get.
Tell you is, So
you don't believe that?
Suffering, no,
you don't believe what I just said? A good idea alone?
I don't. No.
Okay, so let me ask you this: they have cars sitting on the lot right now, Moo, and they're giving you great discounts. Are you going to go and buy it? No.
So did people know that they wanted Social Security before they had it, or did they fight against it at first? Yeah, they fought against it at first. Did people know that they wanted Medicaid? See, the biggest problem with progressive policy is this. People don't know they want it until they already have it. And when you try to take it away from them after they already have it, they fight viciously.
But
so
Moo,
it requires pain.
But it also requires work. It also requires deliberate work that needs to be done within the constraints of the government.
Work, that's true, but unfortunately for Americans, it seems to require pain. Wouldn't you guys rather have Medicare for all without having to experience a Donald Trump presidency?
And what has to happen? I asked you this question the other day, Moo, and you didn't answer it then.
This is good.
What has to happen in the Senate before that'll take place?
So they have to be able to pass it, right? They have to be able to
Okay. What's that take? What's that take, Moo? What's that take, Moo?
So you have to have a majority vote.
What's that take, Moo? In numbers. In numbers, what does that take, Moo?
You have to have 51.
No, sir. You have to have 60.
No, you need 60
Yes,
for
no,
that
sir.
one. Okay, then
Because
you need
any
60 for
bill
that one.
like that, any
But
bill like that, any bill like that, Moo,
Mhm.
is going to be filibustered, which
Does it matter
requires
if you? So why doesn't it matter if there's a
60,
filibuster?
which requires 60 votes, 60
Okay, and I'm not
votes
disagreeing
in the
with
Senate.
you. I'm not disagreeing with you. And I answered your question the other day. You said I didn't answer this, but I did.
You did
So,
not.
Just like Al Green. Yeah, I did. And I'm
No,
going
you
to answer
didn't.
it the
You
same
wouldn't
way I
answer.
did
You
then.
kept
I
skirting
did.
off of it
Maybe
just
you
like
ran
you're
too
doing right
quickly,
now.
Val.
You're
Maybe
using
you
Let's
ran
get
too
it. Let's
quickly
get.
because
Let's
you
rein
did
it
run.
in. Let's
You
rein it
did
in,
run,
gentlemen.
right?
Let's
You
have the
ran.
conversation.
You
Let's
ran the
rein
other
it in,
day.
though.
Yeah,
So
so
we
don't
got
run
it.
this time, and maybe you'll hear my answer.
No, I said just
Right.
rein
Let
it
me
in
answer
because I
his
can't.
question.
What is his question? I
Yeah,
don't know.
let me answer his question.
What is
Yeah,
the
he
question?
said, "What about the filibuster?" Yeah, he said, "What about the filibuster?" Because if it wasn't
I
a
didn't say
filibuster,
what
it'd be
about
another excuse.
filibuster.
Yeah, you said, "Well, they will
No,
filibuster."
I
So
said
here's what
they
you do if you
will.
get.
I didn't say what about.
Yeah,
I said
they will, and I'm
will.
answering why that doesn't matter. Here's what you do. You do exactly what Donald Trump does when someone doesn't pass his legislation. Yeah, you get on TV. Yeah,
You do
you get on
exactly what Donald
TV.
Trump does.
Would you let me
So in
finish
other words,
explaining?
you
get on TV.
want to make
Okay, so you
the
guys have a problem with
representatives of this
messaging.
country not to go
So
out.
let
You
me get
did, sir,
this
what
right.
you just advocated for
Let me get
was the
this. Yeah.
representatives of this country not
Uh-huh.
working with their constituents. That's what you
No,
just
that's not what I
represented.
advocated for. You're
That
putting
is
words in my
what you
mouth, but that's
just
not what I
represented,
advocated
man.
for. No, I'm actually
Because the
advocating
people,
people
the
work with their
advocates,
no,
the
no,
people that
no,
sit in
nope,
Senate
nope,
work with their
nope,
constituents. Whatever their
nope.
constituent
So
faces,
here's
how
what you
they
do.
should
You
vote.
won't let me answer your question. You won't
Because
even let
you're
me answer your
wrong. You're
question.
wrong.
We'll
You're
we'll do
scared of
we'll,
my
we'll do.
answer.
Hold on.
You're
We'll do
scared
three
of my
more.
answer.
We'll do
Look,
three
Val,
more
run that the
minutes.
other day.
No,
Yeah.
no. We'll do 3 more minutes, honestly, because I was supposed to be going at 7:30. But
I'm gonna
we might do
answer
the
the
full show
question.
today. We might do the full show today. Sheesh.
I want to answer the question. I
Y'all
want
getting
to
me
answer the
activated
question.
this morning. Wow.
I want to answer the question.
Boo,
The answer to
you
the
are
question
dangerous,
is
and I'm
this.
actually going to
If
answer
you,
your question.
yeah, I am dangerous, especially for centrists
No,
like
no,
you,
Moo,
because
you
I
are
get your
dangerous.
offices taken
You are
away by
dangerous to the
progressives.
country.
I'm real
You're dangerous to the party, and I
Um,
wish you just fucking
yeah,
leave
I'm
it.
dangerous to
How's that?
centrists. I'm dangerous to
Got
centrists
that.
like you.
All right.
I'm
So
real
let's get this
dangerous to
thing back
centrists
on the
like you.
rails. Let's get this thing back on the rails. All I was
Here's my
asking,
answer to
Moo,
his question.
Moo.
Here's my answer to his. Can
I
I
don't-
answer his question?
I don't even know what his
Can I
question
answer? He
is.
says so I remember his question. He said you'll get filibustered. So here's what you do if you get filibustered. You take a page out of Donald Trump's book.
Okay, see, we
Because
have
what
a
you do
problem.
is you take again. Can I answer the question? Can I answer it?
All right, hurry
you
up.
get on TV, you get on TV and you start advocating against the politicians who filibustered you. You turn the American public against them tactfully so that they know what they're missing. You say, hey guys, hey American public, every Democrat, instead of sitting on your ass and rolling over like you like to do.
Okay.
How about you get on TV and do some messaging for a change, because you know the biggest party is with their messaging. So if you get filibustered, you get on TV, you get the American public riled up, and then you get it passed. That's how you work with constituents. That dude above me, he ain't got a plan for a filibuster. He's scared of the filibuster.
Fair enough. Val, did you want to respond to that, Val? Did you want
I'm not
to?
scared of anything, sir. The scary part about a
scared to me.
filibuster is
Moo,
this.
you just
scared
moo,
to
you
let
just
go of the
moo. I don't want to do you like you just did me, but you got to play by the rules you created up here. Go ahead, Val.
Moo's got big issues. Here's one of them. Anybody that knows how this bill worked and how we got the ACA passed knows that it got filibustered when it came through, and then it passed after it passed with work from those people in the Senate to get 5 Republicans to vote for it. Okay, that is one of the ways we get it done. That works within the committee itself, within the Senate. When the president sticks his nose into something like that and starts threatening other congressmen that are really just backing their constituents, because trust me, people like Alabama, they don't care about universal health care. They have no care about it because they're not educated on it. The problem here is education. And we started when Zeus brought this up earlier, we started with education. The other problem is information. We've had an information problem in this country for decades now.
No lies detected.
Okay.
A lot of people, Moo. The reason I said it is because Some people didn't know Obamacare was the Affordable Care Act.
Did you know that by being bipartisan, instead of getting on TV and advocating for his plan, Obama dropped the public option? That's what happens when you're bipartisan like Val up there. You get shitty legislation.
Wait a second. We're keeping it clean. All right.
The ACA
Wait a
does
second.
not protect people. The ACA does not protect people who are
We
very,
already
very sick.
acknowledged.
Those people are still in debt. And
Wasn't
would
I
like to
talking?
know what proof Val has that people
Wasn't
in
I
Alabama
talking?
don't care about health care?
Wasn't I
Where's
talking?
your proof that people in Alabama don't care about health care, Val?
Well, okay. Well, listen, we got to move it on, you two. All right. W to the chat. I mean, because you all endured this. W to the chat. All right. But move, Val. I got to move it on. All right. Moo. Well, we'll do this. Closing remarks. Oh, Moo left. Okay. Val, what are your closing remarks? Go for it.
Here's what y'all need to know. First off, the ACA was the first attempt at trying to get something done. And this is why I say things happen slow. You can't make government work fast. You could try. We could try different things, but it's just not going to work. There's too many different opinions. If everybody stepped into a room with 100 other people and started to go down something like this, you would have so many opinions on this at the end of it that it creates gridlock. That is how it works. But you need those different opinions because it's how things get made better, or in some cases worse. I agree with him on the ACA and what we had to drop to get it done, but that was Obama's decision to make that, to get it done so he could get it passed. And I want Moo to remember, the ACA has helped millions of people in this country since it has gone out. And I also want Moo to remember that when Obama signed it, he said these words: "This is just a start. Both sides are going to have to continue to work on this to make it better over the years."
Yeah.
And after Obama left office, no one worked on it.
They actually tried to get rid of it.
That, Moo.
Tell him, Val. All right, W Val. All right, Val. Thank you, brother, for always being willing to come up here and endure the Thunderdome. All right, because it is the Thunderdome. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's give Val a huge round of applause. That was, as far as I'm concerned, amazing. You know, we're getting a lot of these. I thought I saw Yazzie up here. Where did Yazzie go? Oh my goodness, where did you go, Yazzie? All right, we'll bring attacking up here. Ange, are you able to bring someone bring attacking up? I can't bring him up for some strange reason. It's not letting me accept the guest request. There you go. Thank you. I appreciate that. It won't let me do it. Hi, attacking.
Good morning. It's a beautiful Monday.
It is. It really is. What do you got for us? Are you ready to give Zeus some of your feedback about how Zeus is doing? All right, because I'm ready for it. What do you got?
You're horrible. You're just horrible. That's another H. Horrible.
Oh my God! There you go. W attacking. All right, yeah. Zeus is horrible. I love it.
3,617.
What's that?
That is how many days it has been since Trump came down the escalator. But I want you to think about it like this. This is what I did. Trump supporters, and we know a lot of them, have lied every day for Donald Trump since that day.
Sure have.
And that's just the 1-for-1 ratio. The people that we've listened to lie 5, 10, 20 times a day in regards to multiple issues with Donald Trump. So for these people to purposely lie for somebody, knowing that they're lying for them, I mean, they're in the 30,000 lie range. They're just not admitting it or owning it. And as for this conversation that's going on, can you put your hand up for a second?
Me? Like this?
Yeah. Can you do it like you're holding a glass?
A glass like this? Cheers?
Yeah, pretend like you're holding a glass.
All right, I got it.
So there's nothing there, right?
No.
With all the policies and fixes that I like Moo. Moo's smart, man. He's smart. I like him. I think his delivery needs practice. It needs to.
Coming from you saying that, that's interesting.
Well, the thing is this: I go on my rants, but when I have a conversation, I have a little bit better interaction. I'm not screaming or yelling or trying to forcefully put my thoughts on the conversation. I at least have a conversation. You have an empty hand, but you don't have anything to fill it with. Your policies, you have nothing to put it in. You don't have a person. Moo doesn't have a person. All the best policies in the world. If you don't have a delivery boy, you don't have anything.
It could be a woman too. It
Or
could
a
be
woman. Yeah,
Thank
well,
you.
I was gonna say woman, but
Gotcha.
I moved on.
Fair enough.
Everybody knew where I was going. If you don't have somebody to deliver the stuff that you want, you ain't got nothing. Progressives and independents always bring somebody in at the last inning. The second out, going into the third out, last inning. You ain't got nobody. All the best ideas you have in the world to fix this, that, and the other thing is not going to be delivered unless you have somebody. So the whining and stuff like this, and again, Moo is smart. I like Moo.
Yeah.
His approach to delivery is really aggressive and angry, in my opinion. But again, I like him. He's smarter than I am. But the delivery approach is horrible. And you don't have anybody that you can say, this is what we need to fix. Well, you don't have anybody to deliver it. You have nobody to deliver it. So when you say the Democrats lost this is why the Democrats lost. Well, the thing is this. You're doing what a Trump supporter is. This is why you lost this time. Okay? No. There's a lot of issues. Like timing. We didn't have enough time for Kamala Harris to be, out there. She did a fantastic job with the time that she had.
Yeah.
Okay? If she would have had more time, she probably would have won. But the thing is this. You don't pick on the side and point the finger at the side that you're in. And by the way, putting in a so-called white person, whatever he said.
What Jasmine Crockett said. He said,
whatever
she said something. What did she say?
I don't know. But the thing is this. Right now, we're in nuclear chaos. We might have to put somebody in here just to level the playing field. Get a normal foundation to start doing things again. We got to bring this bull poo-poo down to where we can get level and start all over again. Fill this hole that Trump is putting us into. Fill it, level it off, get a better foundation, and grow from there. And nothing happens overnight. Nothing. And by the way, talking about bills, you had John Boehner, while President Obama was in office, had a bill on his desk, a bipartisan bill for the DACA and the border. Held it on his desk for 511 days. He wouldn't let it come to vote. So these bills that Moo was talking about, why aren't they bringing these? Because he ain't got the vote. He ain't bringing the votes. The person, Mike Johnson, he's not going to bring these things to vote. So I don't care what your idea is. If you don't have a delivery person, you ain't got an idea. It's nothing. It's null and void. And until you independents and progressives or whatever you want to call yourself, unless you have somebody that you can promote from now until election day, quit whining about stuff. Quit bringing somebody at the last minute and say, vote for this person. Who the heck is it? Who is that person? What are they going to do? What's their background? Put them into the local market in your city and state. Have them progress from there and go up to the representatives in the Senate and the presidency. You ain't got nobody. You ain't got a bill. You ain't got a fix. You don't have something if you don't have a delivery person. Your local newspaper guy on a bicycle, that's you don't got anybody, man. And again, Moose Smart. That's your opinion.
You got we can share our own opinions on this show. I mean, it doesn't mean everybody's going to agree with it, but
I don't like picking on our side.
Yeah,
but sometimes we have to.
Well, it's like having a brother or sister. Sometimes you just got to go ahead and do a number on them in order to get them to.
And I have gotten arguments with people. It's like this: if I can't call my friend an a-hole, then you're not my friend.
W attacking, and I've been called that a lot of times by you, seriously. But it doesn't mean that I think you love me any less.
Wait
to
a
be
minute,
honest,
I've called you that.
I'm pretty sure you have. I could go check the tapes. I just don't
Hey,
have
you
enough
better
time to go.
Wait, you better check the tapes. I want proof on that
All right, well, take my word. All right, take my word, bro.
one. All right, buddy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, W attacking in the chat. I mean, eventually this conversation, it was bound to happen. And again, I want everyone to understand, like, yeah, you could sell me on a lot of progressive ideas, but at the end of the day, I still take matters of our national security. I still take matters like what we're going to do about immigration and education. I still take those matters very serious. And if there's not a person that or an agenda that you can actually point me to, then I just think at the end of the day, you're just talking. All right, W Zeus, you got to. See, the thing about it is, and it's not just on the left or the right, a lot of people don't understand how things get done in our U.S. government at all, and they just think that the idea itself is going to win people over. I'm like, no, have you ever actually tried to actually implement anything in terms of a policy and trying to get people to come together and have to go meeting after meeting with people to keep them all engaged and actively involved in passing this? It's just not simply signing the law that gets things done. It's the work that goes into it. Once it actually getting the law passed is one thing, but then the work behind the scenes getting it done, that's the work a lot of Americans, they don't have the knowledge about how it gets done. They don't know about how the funding is being allocated. And we see this playing out today, especially in our research community, right? Where all these grants are being pulled, the funding is being pulled. Most people, they have no clue what these labs are doing when it comes to the research funding. So yeah, they say, the Trump administration says, yeah, go ahead, cut the funding. We need to review it because there could be DEI in it. The average American will say, yeah, that's a good idea, right? Without understanding that once those funds get cut, you're stopping a lot of progress being made in this country, especially as it relates to the research that they need. That's what I'm saying when I say a majority of Americans, honestly, they don't know. All right, W Zeus in the chat. Uh-oh. Let's go. I see we have another guest. Fang. Is there a mod that can let Fang up? Zip it. Who is this? CXJJR. Zip it. Oh my goodness. I cannot bring Fang up for some strange. I can't bring any guest up, ladies and gentlemen. You know why? I don't know what it is. Hold on. It is so weird that this is happening on my show this morning. Hold on. I might have to do it this way. Okay, and they can. Okay. See. Okay, there you go. I might be able to do it this way. Okay, let's see. We might be able to get some. He's in the request. Can Fang come up? He was in the request, I think. Oh, I don't see him anymore. What about who else do we have? Ooh, Val, you want to come back up, Val?
Hey, I came back because you just brought up something very important. We're sitting here and we're having this argument over stuff, and you brought up something that's incredibly important, and that's the funding that we're seeing being pulled from other agencies right now.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually brought up in Congress, Moose, since you don't seem to watch, C-SPAN and stuff like that. That was actually brought up in Congress about the funding. We have a big issue here, guys. Okay, when we talk about the funding, we now have a executive branch that has reallocated funding without congressional approval. We have a Defense Department.
Oh yeah.
We have a Department of Defense that is actually going to run out of funding by July.
Yeah.
Okay. That's 2 whole months before the deal. And part of their reallocation of funding was taking away cybersecurity.
Yeah. There you go.
And these are the things that are going on right now. And this was talked about. And so everybody knows this is highly illegal. Not just a little bit illegal. This is highly illegal. These are the things we need to be standing up and talking about. These are the things we need to get taken care of, because right now you fight for right now.
Yeah.
Okay. When I talk to you, Moo, and I say these projects that you want to put forth, I love every one of them, believe it or not. I want to see people progress in this country. I want to see the country progress. But I understand that we have real issues right now that have to be addressed. If you can't understand that, sir, we can't come together. That's the problem. That is the real issue.
There you go. All right, Val. Well, thank you, brother.
No problem.
All right, W Val in the chat. No lies detected. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. I think we know who this is. I think this is Yazzie. Yazzie,
Yes.
welcome. Okay, welcome. I got you. All right.
Okay. Let me turn on this camera. Hold on. Let me see if I can get this camera on.
We are rocking and rolling. We're cooking and booking on the day's show. I'm well past my scheduled time slot, but you know what? We had to have these very, it's a tough conversation, but we need to have it. Oh, look at that. Looking so beautiful. What brings you here? What brings you here? It's so...
I wanted to discuss about the H-2A and H-2B visa process.
Okay.
As a corporate farm ranch owner, and the way it works, he's correct. Yes, we put ads out. We even linked all these places where we're like, hey, we'll hire you. The government actually allows me really unlimited amount of H-2A, H-2B visas. The H-2B visas is more of the person who is more skilled, who maybe is a welder, who has a trade, those kinds of things. But the thing is that I'm going to tell him all the Republicans in my area who can get unlimited visas choose not to get them for those employees. They would rather find someone with no documentation, undocumented workers, and bring them to their ranches. And you know what? What we even discovered, I discovered because that's all as my second job part-time, my nursing, that they even call on their workers because they had a baby that was medically fragile of one of the farm workers at a dairy farm, and I got the call. They said, okay, we're going to take this baby into custody when ICE, because this dairy rancher called ICE on his workers. And so we're going to have to put this baby in medical foster care. And since I'm the nurse that takes care of that medical fragile baby, I'm like these dairy farmers bring in these people with no documentation because they offer us this H-2A, H-2P visas. At one time, I mean, I know some farmers get up to 75 workers at one time.
Wow.
The thing is, why they don't want to is that they have to offer full time, they have to give them minimum wage at minimum. They have to give them housing. They have to give them some form of health insurance. So a farmer has to pay, which they should. I think every farmer should have to give like benefits and have to. But these people, these Republican farmers, these Republican big corporations, like, oh, well, we can just get someone that's not documented, and then we can just continue the whole system that's going. They're never going to pass legislation. Biden on day one offered legislation. No Republican will go on board. And he's that guy, you should worry about the filibuster. We can get filibustered. Did you know no Republican has ever put any form of immigration bill forward to help immigrants? Because even this last legislation that Republicans had put forward, and they even got Democratic support, but Trump said take it down. It was actually not in favor of actually people who have been here 20, 30 years paying taxes through the I-10 system and IRS. It wasn't a great bill. I was actually happy it didn't pass because at the end of the day, they were going to have to pay money. I mean, it was just really fleecing people who barely have the resources to do this. So the guy I don't remember what his name was, but that if he wants to talk about real immigration reform, we can have that conversation. But you can't just tell me so you're telling me you're going to punish us Democrats who keep putting legislation forward, but we need Republicans to come on board and work with us, some bipartisan support. So you're telling us because we always put the legislation together, but because we don't get enough votes, it's our fault. We don't do enough. I am tired with those, and that's why we lose these things, because those kind of people, they're dangerous to our party. They're dangerous to us. I'm going to tell you, no Republican has ever put any good legislation forward for immigrants. And I'm not just worried about immigrants, for women, for people, Black, brown, for the hardworking American, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, it costs the overhead. And did you know, as a large corporation, even as any corporation or any business owner, you get to write off your expenses that you pay on your employee. You get to write off their bonus, everything you pay it's called your infrastructure. It's called expenditures in your
Yeah,
business that
yeah.
we get to write them off. So you're telling me that corporations can't, instead of paying what they're supposed to, giving benefits like they should, they just, and our system rewards them by letting them do what they're getting to do.
Wow.
But
So I got a question then. So one of the things he said was the visa, the H-2 visa program is why Hispanic, most Hispanic voters voted for Trump. Do you agree with that or no? Based on
why
what you're
they
saying.
why they voted is because somehow they can, which is real. Our faith is something different. I think we all can say faith is in our heart, in our Lord, our Jesus Christ. Religion is dangerous. The whole thing is those religious fanatics, those religious that even they preach from the pulpit, including my own Catholic church. I stopped going to mass because when you're telling me that you, a convicted felon, a convicted SAer, a convicted person, that you're telling me vote for this, vote for him, and they're telling us, because they're the pro-life, they care about all this life. But they don't care if it's a brown life. They don't care if it's a black life. They don't care. They don't want to feed the hunger, the sick, the weak, the poor. I mean, they took Meals on Wheels away. They're going to take heads. I mean, we're losing special education funding. I've lost 2 nurses because we lost some federal funds. And that's children that can't come home and just die a dignified death. So you're telling me why Mexican voters or Latinos or Hispanos or Cubanos, they voted because they want to be considered white. They want to be part of that group. They want to assimilate. Forget
Mm.
that. Okay, they voted because they think if they vote like this, people are going to accept them more. And because they were told, oh my
Oh.
gosh, because he's so-called, he ain't Christian, he ain't nothing. I mean, I'm
Mm.
like, you're embarrassing. The man
Mm.
told you to your face that you guys are poison. No, we're poisoning the blood.
Yeah, he did say that.
I mean, the thing is, he told you to your face, oh, he's just gonna take the bad ones. Well, being here with no documentation, did you know it's not a felony, it's not a misdemeanor,
Oh, there
it's
you
a
go.
civil.
There you go. So it's not even that big of a deal
It
compared
isn't.
to what
Okay.
he's done. Wow,
Exactly.
Yazzie.
So,
So so we can nip this in the bud then. So most likely, if you're saying it from the way you're saying it, the typical person that's Hispanic that voted for Trump, they didn't do it because it was the H-2 visa. More likely, they did it because, in a way, it made them feel like they were a little closer to being white and
there's
to the wow acceptance. So
well,
we have another opinion out here.
yeah.
So
So
now we got to pick and choose. But I think if it was up to me, yes, I think I'm agreeing with what you're saying because again, I don't see a lot of people being immigration experts out there. I would be honest with you.
no. And the H2A, H2B visas, it's a two system visa system. It's H2A are for the ones that the seasonal workers, but if you're a big farm, you can prove to them I need them all year. And so, but the thing is, they don't ask for them. That's the whole point, is that they're not asking for the H2A, H2B visa workers. Very few are, because then they actually have to pay minimum wage. They have to give them housing. They have to give them medical care. They had to actually take care of them the whole time they are here. What
Mm,
corporation actually wants to take care of their employees? Because not only do they have to pay minimum wage, they have to, in some way, well, yeah, they don't get a retirement, they don't pay, but they have to still take care of those people. That's
mm,
why they don't use that visa
mm.
system. It's a
Bing,
joke.
yeah,
Yeah.
bingo. Well, listen, Yazzie, you're doing an outstanding job bringing the hammer down. Yazzie.
I was driving, I was checking cattle, and I had a horrible signal, and then I was on the private account, and I'm like, oh, he might not be able to see it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
then I lost my signal, and then I'm like, oh, then I'll just try to
Well, I
listen.
didn't know this was your account to be honest. So I'm following it, so I should know. But
You send
yeah,
me messages sometimes. Yeah, you know what?
did you change your name or something? I think it.
I did. So the reason I put myself as I'm a helper. Everyone, like, in our culture, Mexican culture, everybody wants to be the boss, everybody wants to be the owner, everybody, and I tell them I'm okay being the helper. I'm already an owner. I'm already whatever.
Thank you.
I
Thank
it
you.
doesn't change. I am bringing my, and I'm not saying down, because it doesn't. I think it's okay being the assistant. It's okay being the helper. I don't. I'm already the owner of a big farm, a big corporation. But guess what? I'm still a helper. I'm gonna help everybody get ahead. I'm not just out here for me. I'm out here for everybody. And so that's why I named this Asistente Jazz, because I am the helper.
Got it.
So, so it's like it's a story because it's so sad that we hear like everyone, like I think Tiffany said, oh, when they don't value your education, they don't value your expertise. I mean, somehow we're penalized because we get masters, or we're penalized because we're registered nurses, we're penalized. But at the end of the day, we bring knowledge to this platform, and so when people try to minimize our education, but then also
Thank you.
minimize my years of experience, my generational farming
Yeah.
experience, that somehow we don't know that we have been doing this for, hundreds of years, but somehow someone comes up and say their opinion about it comes over our experience and
Yeah.
our level of what we do, Yeah, and the only thing the only reason I get a seat at the table, people, is because I pay for that seat. Just remember that, okay?
Tell him, Yazzie.
Not my level of education. Not that I'm going to take. I've taken care of their parents in their dying days. Not that I've been in this community all my life, my family, my generations. It's because I have more money than them, and I get to pay for my seat.
Amen. Tell him, Yazzie. Yazzie, Jazzy. Well, listen. Thank you so much. All right, we're gonna try to move on and squeeze in a couple more. But, ladies and gentlemen, let's give the beautiful Yazzie Jazzy a huge round of applause. What an incredible show! What an incredible.
That's why I was trying to come up when you had that guy. I'm like, wait a moment, I'll tell you how they used to do it.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure Moo is listening, and hopefully you can. If you can go and help him understand this a little bit more, because it's very important that the information gets out there so that we can have real, honest conversations about it. That's basically what it's about.
They voted because they want to be white, they want to assimilate, and they voted because they're chauvinists, and they think that if they didn't vote for an educated black woman. Well, they didn't vote for Hillary either. Remember that, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, they didn't vote for Hillary. They didn't vote for. Like you and I said, I was devastated Biden was dropping out. I thought two old white men fighting against each other. I was going to choose the better white man. Okay, that's unfortunate that we're still at this, but at least Mexico elected their first woman president. So I have still some hope that maybe one day we, as America or as U.S. citizens, can elect a.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the beautiful Yazzie. No lies detected.
Thank you.
Alrighty then. Wow. Okay, we're gonna bring up Q. Oh, Fang, you're here. I'll bring you up too, Q Dog, but I'll bring Fang up because Fang is back. I try to bring in new voices that I don't get to hear all the time. All right. I guess let's see. I don't see them anymore, but okay. Who do we have next, ladies and gentlemen? Who do we have next? It's weird. I don't see him. Where did you go, Q Dog? I don't see you. There you go. Where is he at? I don't see you, Q Dog. I don't see you. I saw you, but I can't click on you. Can you drop it, come back up? Yeah, TikTok is glitching out today. Oh my goodness, I see you, but I don't see you. It's so weird. You're here in the queue, but yeah, okay, where? Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Weird app. Could you bring him up? Could a mod bring him up? Let's see. Okay, I see. Let's see. Can you send a guest request again? I have no clue what's going on here. Okay, he says he's here. Yeah, but it doesn't. Are you in the guest request? If so, could you drop out? Yeah, send. I see you too, Fang, but no one sees you when you're in the guest request. It's so weird. Maybe you gotta drop out and then drop back in. Try that both times, bro. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see him. Let's see. Let me see. I see you, but it's not allowing me to accept you. That's so weird. But I see you in the queue, right? I see. Okay, let's see. Do you see him, other mods? I cannot bring him up for some strange reason. Let's see. This is so weird. Maybe if you, yeah, that is so weird. We'll do it like this. I can bring you up, I think. Yeah, I can see G-Man.
Hey, yeah, TikTok is glitching. I mean, you don't have the same problem.
Yeah.
Jazzy stole most of my thunder. She
Okay.
said it mostly for me, for Latino. But I'm a moderate.
Yeah.
I'm independent. A little bit more about my independent voter, but I had empathy of other people. I'm the moderate that I was listening to you live. Somebody was triggered because somebody's lack of education. I was not triggered. I'm gonna let you know this. Whoever listened to it got offended, a little bit triggered. I'm not the smartest person, but at least I learned something from these creators. I know more than anything, and it is my job to do my own research and find out if they legit. I'll be 61 next month. I've been doing it to my life. I use my critical thinking to find out if they're legit or not. Now,
Right.
the progressives, you're upset on this. As technically, I'm a boomer. Well, really, I'm a Jones generation in here. The progressives did their thing in New York, Illinois, and Chicago. Of course, my first time voting, I say it's 43 years ago, 1982.
Okay.
When I turned 18, I had different party listing in New York City back then, the old school voting.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, here, like a Bible Belt, like Georgia, Alabama, oh, hell no, they the snail pace whatsoever. How much you try to progressive, and I've been here, I see these Billy Bobs and Becky's in personally. Try to, give us some agenda.
Yeah.
About affordable care and all this stuff. You could see they want, or so-called use that word, own the list, but they don't want nobody to share same equal footing as a person of color look like me and anybody look like you.
Yeah.
Because I remember back in Truman they tried to have that, but these Billy Bobs are breaking. Oh, I don't want that. That support this, the N word or so on. So
Yeah.
they dated back that then. So, so Zeus. Thank you. I'm here mainly thank you for last Monday for support my live. I already
You're
do
welcome.
that.
You're welcome.
And right now, progress. I understand what you're doing, but we in a dire state of democracy of this country. That's more important. We in a constitution humanitarian crisis. I know I could get it.
Yeah.
I get what Boo was talking about, but you got other things issuing on it. Because remember, you should learn your lesson. You vote because what's going on in Gaza. You should learn that lesson. And like I said, if you want to start it, you need to start from the ground roots right now. Start doing your local, state, and federal, the House of Representatives. Start the progressive there right now. Don't wait till the last minute and do it on all this because you're not going to win in the White House, and you're basically not going to, because I know you don't want to do it all the dirty work and all that ground roots.
Yeah.
But that's how you need to do it, people. That's all I had to do. I know Zeus, you're living a time. I like the Q Dog and Fan come over here. Said the whole thing.
Yeah.
And thank you for you, Shay, Ange, everybody support me. I'm thinking about doing this next thing, and I'm gonna on my top of this and see bring it up.
All right.
What we in the Constitution humanitarian crisis. I'm gonna start my life later today.
All right. I'll be there. I'll try to be there. Yeah, because we can talk. I don't mind having an honest conversation. All right.
Okay, but I'm gonna go ahead and drop. I know you're busy schedule. Thank you for your time. Please, Fang, hey, Q-Talk, come over here. I'm gonna go ahead. Drop, man.
All righty
Thank you for
then.
your
All
time.
right, WG man. No lies detected. All right. Let's see. Someone said Zeus switch to the grid version. Maybe that'll do it. Let me see. Did that do it? No. I switched to. Let me try the. I see them in the queue, but for some strange reason, it's not allowing me to bring these folks up. I see. That is so weird. Hold on. How about this? All right. I just relaunched the app. I just relaunched the app. Oh, W Zeus! Sheesh. Goodness gracious, it worked on you. Okay, Fang, I got you next, and then we can wrap it up. What do you got for us, Q Dog?
Look like you're teacupping a little bit. It's got the teacup on there, Zeus.
I'm still I'm teacupping?
Yours is teacupping.
Sheesh.
TikTok is tripping today, bro.
No, they say no, I'm not teacupping. Some say no.
I don't know what's going on. Well, we're gonna keep it rolling.
Keep the party rocking.
They can hear me.
They can hear you.
I'm very disappointed in Moo and how he approached the conversation. We sound like the regular MAGA, just he's on the fence. That's what it sounds like to us, and I'm just it's baffling to me because now you got all the folks like conservative and now he done changed the name to Tiny Tank Top Tim. If you notice that in the chat, they all on his side now. So I'm just confused. Is it? Did he drink the Kool-Aid? What's going on? I mean, I get that now that things are going into a chaotic mode. People are panicking and well, if you can't beat them, join them type of mentality. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's I just don't get it. Now we got a. It's almost like now we're side-eyeing each other almost. Like, okay, are you really here for the right thing, or are you just here just to save face and just be on here to get clout? Which one is it? Because a lot of stuff I've never, and a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people in the chat, I've never seen that side of Moo ever. So I'm trying to figure out, did they get to you? did they put threats against you or whatnot to switch up your conversation and how you approach things? Because he sound like a MAGA. Now he may say, "Oh, I'm conservative. I'm in the middle." No, you sound like a MAGA. You were crashing out like a MAGA move. Like every time Val said something, every time he tried to even have a conversation, Moo has never done that. I've never seen Moo crash out like that ever.
Maybe he's frustrated, and rightfully so, right? The way things are going in this country. I don't know why, right? But I wanted to make it clear from the way that I see it that, either you're planting your flag down with the Democrats or you're not. It's crystal clear to me which party I would probably have a better chance of getting the things I want out of between the two. And that's how I decided. And, you start asking about, those other issues like national security, immigration. I really want to know where the candidate stands. And quiet as it is kept, it was clear to me, obviously, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris had more of an agenda. And that most likely we should stick to them instead of supporting Donald Trump. So I don't understand how there's no awareness to the fact, like, yeah, they're not, like, no one believes the Democrats are perfect. Do you believe they're perfect, Q-Dog?
No, nobody's perfect.
No one believes
Only
this.
one that's perfect is Jesus. And it's funny how even back then nobody said that put his side on how he had followers with his disciples or whatnot. Oh, they're the Democrats. They're the Romans. They're the Jews. Nobody sided like that. It was who was right and who was wrong. And the funniest thing,
what's that?
I was watching, and if anybody knows about Pluto TV, you get to see all the old shows and whatnot, right?
Right.
And for the last few days, I've been watching in the Heat of the Night, the series. That was one of my favorite shows. And I did not really pay attention to just recently, last few days, when Chief Gillespie was behind his desk. It's funny, he had the Confederate flag behind him. They had an episode where young man was from Venezuela, and he came into Mississippi, trying to seek asylum. As a refugee. And they showed him, they asked him, they said, "Can you show us proof that you are a refugee and you're seeking asylum?" And he pulled up his shirt. And when I tell you it looked like Rambo, yeah.
Wow.
So this isn't new. This whole situation is not new. This has been going on. And that show was back in the 80s.
Yeah.
So just imagine how far back further this has been going on. And when I tell you the sheriff of that county in Mississippi, when I tell you, they're actors, but they get it to the T. It was the triple K's in a sheriff uniform.
Wow. Why am I not surprised?
And at that point, he went to a monk's a facility to try to get, safety from them trying to attack him, trying to put him up under arrest. And it was like, no, you're not coming up in here.
Yeah.
And the anger and the hatred that was over that sheriff's face, I'm just looking at, I'm like, wow, this is modern day. What's going on?
And Donald Trump gets all of his ideas from TV. That's what came out.
Yes.
So we know what's going on. So Alter Ego, I just wanted you to know, as crazy as this stuff sounds to you, it's relevant because we all know that's where he got all of his ideas from. So you should look into that. WQ though.
Yeah. It's amazing how they want to say, "Oh, you're watching TV or whatnot," but y'all listen to The Simpsons. Help me understand that. And The Simpsons are on point for whatever reason. That cartoon is on point.
Yeah.
Of stuff that's happening that's way back in the 90s, the 80s and 90s. That's relevant to the day. But y'all want to say, "Oh, TV." No, it's telling you a vision. That's what TV is.
Keep talking. I'll be right back.
All right.
We'll be right back.
All right. We got to get it together. We really got to get it together and stop pushing the rhetoric of Democrats and the Republicans. No, it's people against people. You got good against evil. Point blank, period. There's no in between. See, like I always said, the greatest trick that the devil ever pulled was to convince the world that he did not exist. And you got to realize that it's a lot of the devil's workers amongst us in plain sight. And if you don't realize it, you look up shape changers. Just look it up. Look up shape changers. You may not want to believe it, but look it up. The devil got a lot of people on this earth that are doing his work. But guess what? As long as God is on the throne and Jesus is right there on the side,
amen.
You know what time it is. Devil, you ain't got no power here. He'll make you think. God will make you think you got power, just like you thought you had power in heaven.
Ooh.
Until he said, "Oh no, not on my watch." He was the head archangel. He was the head angel of music. Listen to music.
That part.
You wonder how some people play music backwards and it sounds like demonic spirits?
Yeah. Yeah. Tell
He was the head of music.
A&R
You
Records.
better start listening and thinking everything that you
Executive
look at,
producer.
everything you look at and listen to is not always of God.
Amen. All right, brother. Well, I gotta move it on. All right, we're rounding a very big tight corner, but I
So I
appreciate
know
you.
you got to bring up fame, bro.
All right, WQ dog. No lies. All right. We're gonna. Okay, yeah, we survived all the glitches. All right, Fang, are you there? Are you there, Fang? Oh wow, welcome. All right, welcome to the show, Fang. You survived. Yes, sorry about that. Technical difficulties, but we're back in business. What do you got for us this morning?
I understand how things go, Zeus. Good to talk to you. I appreciate you having me up.
No problem.
I want to always make sure I preface what I say with there is one side, which is Trump, and people who still align themselves with Trump, and then there's the rest of us. Because if you voted for Trump, you are not like the rest of us. We can have disagreements to the point that we can even have arguments. But the minute somebody start telling me that somebody like Moo is a MAGA, now you just spreading propaganda. That's propaganda. What you're doing is you're labeling this person who has a difference of opinion with you. And even if you don't like the way he presents it to you, you can look at the details of what he said and realize that he is nowhere near somebody that is a MAGA. And you know that. Again, I have had disagreements with Moo back when he wasn't willing to back Kamala for a little while. And we argued, but he got on board and said, you know what? This is the only way to get anywhere, is to make sure that these folks don't get into power.
Yeah.
And so that's where I will never, ever, ever, ever allow somebody to downplay my comrade, my friend, when it comes to things like that. That's it.
I
And
appreciate
so,
that. I
yeah, go ahead.
appreciate that because I don't believe he's MAGA, right? But why do you think others may have suggested, because I don't think some might say they think he is, but why do you think that is what people think?
Because it's a mentality of you're with us or against us. And so people are trying to circle the wagons and say, hey, whoa, we got to hunker down here. Because like you said, with some of the progressives, they're trying to run out there and go and get certain things done because they're like, this is the time.
Yeah.
Because we tried everything else. And now, what the heck? We got to at least try and go hard as we can to get universal health care. We got to go out there and make sure we push our progressive folks
Yeah.
so that they can take reins on this stuff. Because when we tried to do the middle road, it didn't quite go as well as we thought it would. When we tried to have Cheney on stage with Miss Kamala Harris, it kind of backfired because it gave them a talking point of, well, y'all just warmongers. You see, you got Cheney up there with you.
Yeah.
And so even though I know that was just propaganda, I know that wasn't the actual truth. I know that Miss Kamala Harris was the best possible candidate. It gave the ignorant, and I mean that in the sense that they didn't know better, the ignorant voters the ability to go, yeah, they both the same.
So we agree that there are a lot of voters out here who are not as informed, right? And that's the angle that I was trying to express to Moo. I'm saying I don't think a majority of voters out there keep up with politics like we do on TikTok. I just don't, right? And so there's that awareness you got to have when you're communicating with people. But do you think there's also because I think you mentioned it earlier when you said you and Moo, or people you speak to that kind of subscribe to the ideology that Moo has, do you think it harmed Kamala Harris's ability to win the election in any way, based on the way that on one side, I think, from like you and I said, they're not MAGA, but the messaging plays right into the MAGA playbook, plays right into it.
The only thing that hurt Kamala Harris was the fact that she was held back by the DNC. The DNC changed her message from what was hers in particular to what was theirs. She had a more progressive idea for a lot of different issues, not just Palestine, not just all these. She had a lot more.
But you have to,
just from her perspective, and they wanted her to water it down a little bit to be more palatable. And so when she got up in front of people, it went from one interview to the next. That, like you said, she didn't have a lot of time to recuperate. So when she kind of pulled back a little bit, everybody went, "See, she's just going to do more of the same." And so I believe that you are correct to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But the problem is that it is correct. It is correct that you should have stuck with those 3 months of going the way you started, because it was people went crazy when she became the candidate, and everybody was on board for quite a while. And then you started seeing people shuffle off just little small amounts. And when we went to Michigan and we figured out that people wasn't going to vote for her in Michigan, when they actually did what Trump walked in there and told them people, I'll do it for you. And they listened. Holy crap. They actually listened to that man who told them that he didn't want none of them in the country. Are you serious? You listen to that guy? But I can't fix a fool. Only they can do that for themselves. So he got him. He tricked him. And that's a whole state that was guaranteed. And if that could go, yeah, he did.
Yeah.
If you can trick them folks in the city of Detroit, what? I got you a bridge I can sell you.
But you talk to people off the app. Is it really that he tricked them, or do you think he tapped into something that was kind of already present? And again, I'm saying this because I heard what you said. You said the DNC kind of restricted Kamala. I think it plays into to me what I believe, that a majority of Americans aren't really as progressive as we want them to be at the moment, right? For whatever the reason is. And so how do you I guess keep us moving in a progressive direction without necessarily alienating those of us or those people out there who might not be as progressive, right? And they're still holding on to some of the conservative values.
What are these conservative values, I wonder?
I mean, I'd hate to bring it up, but you see what Trump does, and he does it very well when he starts talking about the LGBTQ plus community. You know what I mean? Religion, yeah, religion is some of them. It blows my mind that an issue that is so small became so big for a lot of people. And it was like, yeah, this is what I've spoken with a lot. Oh, I think I could do another 4 years of Trump. We've already survived it before, right? And it wasn't as bad as what we see currently happening with the Democrats. You know, we got the wars, we got these people protesting in schools. That ain't cool. You know, we need this stuff to be back to how it used to be, so to speak. And so, yeah.
Yeah, just like I say to MAGA sometimes when they bring up that we won, I say, well, what happened 4 years ago? What happened then? Everybody was talking about LGBTQ. We had marriage equality that we was fighting for, making sure that stayed in place. People was in the streets then. People was fighting for George Floyd then. People was putting up statues then. How did we overcome the idea that folks had more conservative values then and get 81 million? How did we do that then?
Because I'll say it went from, you know, what they did to George Floyd, that was evil. It's reprehensible.
Right.
And you had that in the setting of the pandemic, right?
Right.
So, and it sparked a global reaction.
Mm-hmm.
But once all of that stuff was addressed, it went to a level where a lot of people say, now that's just too far.
What level?
Well, Trump. Well, if you're asking me, I don't think that, but them, the them thing, right? That's the thing that they are real. And, you know, Trump is for you, Kamala's for them, right? Whether it's the immigration issue, right? It's like, a lot of people, especially in these communities, think immigrants were taking their jobs.
Right.
We're too liberal at the border. He let millions of people into this country. And to me, I'm looking at this and I'm going, I don't really believe that. But a lot of people do.
This is true. So what you're saying is that the ignorance of those folks caused them to vote against their own best interests.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the division within the Democrat Party, right? I think like the conversations you and I are having need to be had, but some people might not be it's very difficult to have it in a measured way where it doesn't seem like we're divided amongst ourselves. It's a very difficult thing to do.
Is that certain people, if they divide with me on LGBTQ, I say, F you. If you divide with me under the idea of giving human rights and giving the constitutional rights to people who come into this country and are going through the process of immigration, then F you.
Yeah.
If you think that you understand enough about the Constitution, that you know the process of coming across the border, south, east, northwest, wherever you coming from, if you know enough about it and you don't want to follow those rules, F you. So that's where I am willing to fall on my own sword. If that's your litmus test for me to be a part of your group. Now, past that, we can have a discussion and have a little bit of give and take about how things go. You understand what I mean? So
that could be like applying to like MAGA per se, right? It's like, if you want to violate the Constitution, then we got a clear line in the sand and we're divided.
Mm-hmm.
But, and this is a difficult thing. It's a difficult. Right. We also know in the real world you're going to deal with these people. You're going to deal with. What? You're going to, like, for instance, I can't say that. And this is what I've been wrestling with. I cannot definitively speak and say that when I live my normal life off the app and I interact, whether I'm going to a store, you're going to the car dealership or anywhere, you can't say definitively that you're not talking to a Trump supporter.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I know I've talked to Trump supporters.
So there has to be some sort of recognition to a certain degree, like as much as I disagree with certain policies and these people, I also am kind of sensitive to the reality. Like, you know what? I may end up buying gas at a gas station that's, ran by people who support Trump. Would I do it knowingly? No. But at the end of the day, and then goes the other way. And so I say that to say where, at least on our side, especially those of us who support more of the progressive values, I would appreciate it if there was more of a realistic understanding about like, hey, we can't really destroy we can't destroy the government.
No,
and then start trying to champion these ideas. The best way to go, at least from what I understood, especially Obama said, it was like you got to actually get your hands on the plow and actually start trying to work within the government to get the things that you're trying to get done. So what I look for are people who aren't just saying it, but also actually providing me with some sort of, information about how they're currently engaging their state, local, or federal government in that capacity. If you're not doing that, then the ideas that I'm hearing sometimes come across as so unhinged that it can be looked at from a distance as, oh, you sound like maybe they shouldn't say MAGA, but to a certain degree radicalized.
Right.
And I don't do radicalized on either side of the aisle. That's just me.
Right. If you heard Moo get overheated, then I understand where you're coming from. But Moo is involved locally. Moo is involved when it comes to actually being a part of making sure that things move progressively through the government, et cetera, et cetera. And similarly, I would say that there are people like Jasmine Crockett who are actually involved in pushing forward these types of ideas and ideals. I don't know if anybody.
Well, I think Moo may not be aware. A lot of us are, including myself. Right. I don't speak on it. So what I'm saying is this. I've had, for instance, and I'll share a little bit about it. When Obama was in office, he had, I don't know if you're familiar with it, was the Neighborhood Revitalization Initiative. And this was trying to create a cradle to career pipeline for children, right? To go from basically, kindergarten, Head Start, all the way to college. Do you understand? This was $30 million. If you combine the matching funding, $60 million. Do you understand how difficult it was to have to go sit down and meet with local, officials from the school district on down, trying to get their parents to be on board with what's going on, saying, hey, all this funding is here and it is available, but we need y'all to do this. And whether you're dealing with people who are from, low income communities and maybe language is a barrier, the English language is a barrier, it's very, very difficult to get the things that you're trying to get done that we just want to check off and say, look, we did it. It was so difficult to do it because you were fighting people every step of the way. And then on the top of that, you have to go back to the federal agency. And at the time, this is the Department of Education. And they're going, why aren't the numbers moving? This is very important to the president. Why aren't the numbers moving? And you started to, for me, I started to realize at that moment, a good idea alone doesn't sell itself. And I think when people are saying, why isn't this getting done? Why isn't this getting done? I'm thinking to myself, if you're really out here doing this, you can't be yelling at parents like this.
Okay.
You can't be telling them to bring their kids to school. That's not going to happen. And and it's something they should do. You got me on that. But you can't yell at people and force them to do anything.
I understand where you're coming from. And I then put forward the idea that there are people out there, like I say, like Jasmine Crockett, who actually stands up and understands the playing field in which she is dealing with. And she yells back at MTG. She makes sure she gets her voice across. But she also understands that the platform in which she is on is the DNC. And the DNC, and you can go look at this.
Now I agree.
The statement that she made about the fact that they are looking for a safe white T-man. Have you seen that?
I have not seen it, but
you have to take a look at it. And what she put forward is the understanding is that we do have to win, but she understands that you still have to keep pushing for these things that some people may see as crazy and progressive, because what are the most of the people actually looking for? They are looking for universal health care. They are looking for those types of things that you may have to put it in a package in which they are willing to buy. But
And do I agree with that? Like, for instance, do I think that that's how it should be? No, I don't
no,
think that's how. But for her to say that, I think she was being honest from her position, and this is how she's speaking. And I think for those of us listening, it's an opportunity for us to, even though we might not think she should have said it, to say, all right, well, we got to get behind it and try to support it as much as we can.
right. Her and everybody on the radio show that you're gonna see, the podcast, whatever you want to call it. If you do look at that, you will see, like I say, somebody that other people might see as pushing a radical view and all this type of thing, but she understands how to work the system.
Which means she understands racism is still an issue. And sexism.
Absolutely.
She understands that. And she understands that even her, with her voice, and as you know, I would say she's doing a great job. She understands that there's these barriers that she honestly has to acknowledge exist if they're serious about winning, if the Democrats are serious about winning. And that's what I'm trying to be more of. It's more about, to me, being realistic. And sometimes being realistic, it hurts.
I agree with you to almost a 99.999%.
Well, you don't got to. I think
0.1%. That me and you probably would divide on small issues, but that's what I'm saying is that we may have arguments.
Yeah.
I don't think that, and I keep going back to Moo, but I don't think that Moo and Val will sit down and have a dinner. But we need to realize at the very end of the actual day, we are on the same side.
Yeah,
that there's a definitive line, and really, it's Trump against the rest of us. If you ain't Trump, we can talk.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? And if we have to sit down and have negotiations when it comes to things in the House of Representatives and Senate, that's totally different.
Yeah,
you have to have a certain amount of diplomacy. But
I think, do you think? Let's push it to the limit this morning, right? We got Trump. We have to negotiate with our enemies, right? I mean, this is what Trump is supposedly doing with Ukraine and Russia. Do you think negotiating is necessary? Because I also bring this front and center because I also think about, I don't know all the details of it, but the Civil War. We have to negotiate to a certain degree with MAGA, don't we?
Negotiate in what way?
Well, they're here in the United States. They're not going anywhere as much as I've been sending them straight to hell. Mm-hmm. They're part of the electorate.
Mm-hmm. What are we giving up? So that
I never told you what I'm not going to compromise my values. I'm never going to compromise my values. But it's just something I threw out there since you're talking about negotiations, because we have a situation in this country, whether you want to believe it's real or not, which is
it's real.
Yeah, to me, the greatest threat right now, you know, besides our national debt, is Donald Trump and his supporters. They don't seem to have any regard towards the Constitution. But at the end of the day, we have to do something.
Right.
And if we just go around and say, you know what, screw you, screw you, screw you, the question is that really going to get us in a situation where we're winning and then actually delivering on some of these progressive values? Because that's a reality we got to confront too.
Well, I see where you're coming from, and I wonder, again, the context, because in certain contexts, you have to have diplomacy and speaking to someone. But I watched something the other day with MTG. She was having some type of meeting about people going into the bathroom and all this type of crap. And the way that everybody reacted to her in her meeting, and with her slamming that gavel and looking like a fool, that was chef's kiss. Like that type of thing.
Yeah,
showed everybody what a joke she is, and what a joke that type of hearing is.
Yeah.
And so in that instance, no, I don't say meet her halfway and be diplomatic with her silly premises.
Yeah, not all instances, but
you know what I mean. But then in other instances, what you're saying is, do you sit down and say, similar to what they did when they were willing to compromise with the very Trumpy senator that came up with the border bill? we didn't like none of that crap, but we were like, okay, do that. We will
Yeah.
vote for it. We're on board with you. So things like that, yes, that's when all bets are off. And I know that you are a crazy person, but I will vote with you. Similar to what AOC did with Matt Gaetz. She hates Matt Gaetz, but she was willing to get a bill signed
That
to make
part.
sure that it helped out people.
That
So
part.
So I see where you're coming from, I think, and I hope that.
I mean, because we had to do it to end the Civil War at a certain point too, right? There was there was a negotiation. I mean, and that's what I am always aware of. In order for the United States to remain united, president after president, they've had to figure out ways to negotiate in some of the most difficult crises that our country has faced. All right, because one thing I've learned is a house divided, it cannot stand.
Well, that's where we disagree. The
Well,
disagreement is they should have crushed him. The disagreement is they should have made sure they didn't give them no reparations. The disagreement is the fact that they should have made sure that not reparations, but when it came, wait now. When they went
should
down,
have.
put troopers, when they put troops down in those areas to make sure that black folk wasn't getting put on the trees, and then they pulled them out. Guess what happened? They went back to pulling them on the trees. And so that's what I'm saying.
Wait a
is that
second, but
there are
wait a
certain
second.
things-
You can disagree, but I'm saying the history has already been written. As much as I want what I want what you just said. I want what you just said, but that's not how it happened.
What happened?
The Civil War ended.
There was when it was time for it to be ended. Did they not give them reparations for their slaves?
Some did.
Yeah,
but my point to
So
you
that's not
was
what the government should do as a compromise.
but they did it is my point in order to keep the union together, the
That's
United
that. See,
States.
that's what I'm saying.
And so this is what I'm saying. To me, no one's going to get 100% of what they want.
Well, you don't give up 60%.
Well,
You
that's
go-
relative. That's
No,
relative.
That's not relative. The relative is that those folks got money back for they slaves.
Yeah.
And that ain't the way it's supposed to go. You lost.
Yeah.
Guess what? You get to be in this country again. And guess what? You get to still make your cotton. You get to sell your cotton. You get to do whatever you need to do. But you don't get to now get money back. And then the black folks got to get laws that say you can't loiter so we can throw you in jail and make you a chain gang again. None of that. You understand what I'm saying? So
I understand
we can
that.
learn from history and realize that compromising to an extent is necessary, but you went too far then. Don't go that far now. Just go to halfway.
Well, I agree with that point, but my angle is this. It's always going to look like somebody's not getting the deal they wanted when there's a compromise.
Nah.
It's always going to look like that. And if you don't believe it, then I guess that's just, your right to do. But I even look at it like what's going to go possibly happen with Ukraine and Russia. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a side that just doesn't think the deal that it takes to, quote, have a ceasefire is a fair deal. And that's just how the cookie crumbles. And unfortunately, it's usually the person who's more in power that gets the better end of it. And that's the thing. That's the thing I think we got to keep in mind while we're sitting here dividing ourselves amongst each other, and then at the same time surrendering to the Trump administration. It's just to me something that we got to keep in mind.
Well, see, I still am on your side, and I'm still on Val's side. I'm still on Moo's side. I'm still walking with all of you, and I need for us to understand that we are not divided. We may have arguments, but I promise you we are not divided in the sense in which some people want to believe. Because when it all rolls down, honestly, even though me and you disagree about what we just talked about, I know that you are on the same side as seeing the necessity for equality, equity, etc. So that doesn't mean that we need to agree with the path. We
Right.
just need to get on board with certain things that are non-negotiable.
And that's where
what
I think, and I agree. And so I think we're going to have to, this is a good conversation, honestly, because it's necessary and it's going to require me to do a little bit more deep thinking. But I guess a lot of times the path forward sometimes is non-negotiable within the party. And then that becomes the new issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Well, listen, brother, I got to move it on. But, thank you as always for coming up here. We need more of these conversations. All right. W Thing.
All right, Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody.
All right.
Don't forget, it's either Trump or you on the other side. I promise.
All right. There you go. There you go. All right. Okay. We're gonna keep this show moving, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. I see you, Dubs. I see you, Dubs. I'll try to get you two, Dubs, and Morningstar before I get up out of here. Wow. Wow. What a show. Santana, welcome. How you doing, champ? Okay, I can hear you now.
Good, good, good. How are you? Let me get this going
All
here.
right.
Good.
Welcome. Welcome. Welcome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, so I agree with you, right? I literally I agree with you. There has to be some type of compromise, right? And in any type of good negotiation, you're right. Both people walk away from the table saying, "Darn, I could have gotten more. I could have gotten this. I could have gotten that." And you miss out on just about this much. If there's ever a situation where someone walks away from the table and they're like, "Yep, got him,"
Mm.
that's going to be a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
And even more so, the point that we have to get to with MAGA though, the issue is there has to be a quote unquote come to Jesus moment, Zeus.
Mm.
And until they're actually ready to deal with the actual things that are happening, there's no actual negotiation that can occur.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if we can't even agree that a president shouldn't receive a $400 million, jet, like if we can't even agree that that shouldn't happen, then like what are we talking about?
Yeah. To me, it should never ever be acceptable to do, but you can't help but wonder, how did we get so far outside of this situation where we could hold them accountable, but we're not able to at the moment? It's one of the most mind-boggling things that I've been dealing with.
Well, you know what it is. It's honestly, it's a system where for some reason they think we're playing a game, right, Zeus? And that's why when people on the right they say, "Well, we won," like that's their favorite saying right now. We won. Stay mad.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I always say is, "What did you win? Whose team are you working for?" The Trump administration, because we're all Americans, right? I mean, you don't get anything special that
Mm.
we don't get, right? Trump is going to say, "Okay, for all the people that voted for me, for all the people that's on the red team, I'm going to cut your taxes, but all the people on the blue team, your taxes are going to go up." It works all the same across the board, and they don't get that for some reason.
Bingo. You,
So,
you hear this, MAGA? You don't get it, and this is why we got to keep doing shows like this to help you get it. W. Santana, no lies detected.
yeah.
And so in terms of like, because we've connected a lot of dots this morning. What are your thoughts in terms of things the Democrats need to be doing in order to bring forward a serious candidate that's addressing all issues that the Democrats seem to be concerned with? All right, not just Democrats. Honestly, they gotta appeal to a lot of independents and perhaps even Republicans, right?
Yeah, listen, so I'm so happy that you said that. All last week, on my main account, my main account is now in purgatory, so this is the new alternate account. I don't know if I'll get
Gotcha.
it back or not, but this is the account that I'll be on moving forward. But all last week we talked to the left, right? And when
Mm-hmm.
I say the left, we talked to Democrats, we talked to progressives, we talked to socialists, we talked to communists, right? And the thing about that is that the wonderful thing about the Democratic Party is there's such a wide range of people and everyone has their own priorities. Now, the thing that I wanted people to do and I forced people to do is come up with solutions, right? Because Zeus, everybody wants to complain, which is fine.
Yeah.
I'll hear your complaints. We spend an entire week on this. I'll hear your complaints, but at the end of the week, you have to have solutions. And the biggest thing that I came away with was understanding that one, people understand that we have to actually target local politicians, not national politicians. So driving that and then elevating those local politicians to the state level and those state level politicians to the national level, right? And
Yeah.
that will yield better candidates. We also came to the realization that you can't get everything from everyone, right? So this candidate that you might actually want or don't want because they don't do A, well, if they don't do A, but they do B, C, D, E, so on, you
Yeah.
have to understand that you can't, there's no perfect candidate. We can have morals, we can have standards, which we absolutely should, but just because they don't say or do something the exact way you want them to does not mean they're not a great candidate. So those are the things that we really walked away with. And I think that we have a lot of great options and I'm really excited about it. But the thing is, we have to figure it out. We have to do the work now, and then we can go from there.
Amen, amen, amen. Well, listen, Santana, from your lips to God's ears, this is what we need more of. And you know what? This is starting to make me realize that, with the Democrats, we're still strong, but we got a lot of strong opinions as well.
Yeah. It's something that makes us great, but it's something that the right doesn't have to deal with. And I'll leave you with this line because this is one of my favorite lines, and I've repeated it over and over and over since I've heard it. The left falls in love while the right falls in line. That's the difference. And so we have people that we fall in love with. And if our person doesn't become the person, then we're like, nope, it's not my person. The left, well, this is my person. Okay, well, this is our person. Okay, well, this is our person. There's a whole difference, and we got to figure that out.
Thank you, W. Santana. Wow. I can't believe we're getting all this truth today. I thought I was going to come in and send a lot of people straight to hell, but we haven't been doing that this show. So you know what? Thank you, thank you. I value the insight. Seriously, thank you, brother. All right, we'll try to bring up.
I appreciate you.
All right, and then thank you, Santana. Make sure you go and follow him, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Who do we have next? Oh my God, I thought I had somebody else up here, but you know what? I'll move it along. Okay. Good morning, Miss Morningstar. How are you doing? Oh my gosh, look at the time.
Hey, Zeus.
Yes, how are you? Oh yeah, I thought Dubs was here. I see you, Dubs. Go for it. I'll bring you up, Dubs, and then I'm out of here. What do you got for us, Miss Morningstar? What a show, right?
Oh man, what an awesome show today. You know what? Speaking on a lot of truth. And I just wanted to touch on just a few things that I heard as I was listening. So, yes, this is not the first time Moo has expressed himself. First of all, I think Moo is very smart. I think he's a very intelligent person. So, there are some things I do agree with him because I see where he's coming from, but sometimes it is far to the left. And like you made a good point, Zeus, earlier that although most of the country is leaning towards the progressive side, there are some that are not willing to go as far as some of the leftists are willing to go. So we need to get into a point with our side where people can come to a middle, where people can see, get some leaders, some fresh leaders in, because that is another issue. We have too many old politicians.
That's another one,
and we need to refresh that party and get some new politicians with some common sense values, like Jasmine Crockett. We all love Jasmine. Jasmine comes in, she brings the smoke, she says what she needs to say, she does not bite her tongue. We like that because we are tired of them getting on the podium and trying to play the good guy. We are tired of being the good guy all the time, having to think of things in a way to appease everybody. No, we sometimes need the hard truth.
Amen.
The truth hurts. And like you said before, sometimes you're not going to agree or like what everybody says. MAGA is a cult that needs to, the only way that we can get rid of MAGA or even just phase MAGA away is we need to cut the head off of the snake. The snake's head has to go. And we have to be willing to know that there will be no resurrection of another snake.
Yeah. Well, it's happening all over the world. Other countries, Canada, I think Australia, even Germany, they rejected the MAGA candidate. So to me, that's a start in the right direction. But domestically, we really gotta figure it out in terms of recognizing, like, hey, we have to, at a certain point, and it's going to be difficult in a way, do things or have things going on in our party that makes those folks want to leave the cult. And exactly. I don't know exactly, maybe not them, but people within proximity of them who keep, the demon could jump from them into them. We got to stop that and make those people go, oh, you know what? I don't want to be into that and come over here to do what we're doing.
if we think about it, these people have to attach to something. They're not really intelligent people. They're not really they need a sense of a leader. They need somebody that they can attach themselves to,
Yeah.
so that they can feel empowered and they can feel bold enough to be racist, bold enough to be misogynist, and be out here and attack people and try to degrade people. This is what they need. Once you cut the head of that snake and don't give them anything, like a leech, don't give them anything to feed on, then they will dwindle. They will phase, because that's not what we're built on. You know, they try to use religion, and we have religion, we have spirituality.
Yeah.
But the difference between them and us is that we have common sense values.
Amen. Amen.
We have those values, and regardless if we don't agree all at the same, we're not going to always agree. We still have common sense values where we can meet in the middle.
Thank you. And it's very important, the meeting in the middle business. I've been learning this the hard way. You know, sometimes you're flying too high, Zeus, and you need to dial it back. And I'm going, they should get onto my level. And it's like, that's not how the real world works.
They may never get there, Zeus.
Yeah.
It's okay, because everybody is not going to meet you at your level. However, you can meet me in the middle. You can have some type of common sense values and look at it, the world, for what it is.
That's the hard part, right? Because when you're winning and you're playing at a very, very high level, you want everybody to come up to your level. But then you're like, well, that doesn't work, that's not sustainable. So most likely I got to figure out how to work with these people. And that's the thing. You got to learn how to figure out how to work with all these people. Well, all right.
People need, I know you got to go, but remember, guys, faith without work is dead. So you got to be out here and you got to put in some work, okay? You can't just get on these apps and talk the big game and talk about it. You got to be about it. So
Amen.
That's it, Zeus. Go ahead.
Right.
Have a great day. Thanks for staying on so late.
All right. I know you guys got me working late, and no problem. All righty then, ladies and gentlemen. That's my good friend, Miss Morningstar, my sister. All righty then. All right. Thank you. All right. We'll wrap it up with Dubs. Welcome, Dubs.
Hey,
Woo!
thanks for having me. It was a great conversation.
Hopefully a lot of people enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we've been dealing with for basically forever in this country is the opposing forces of people who want change to be faster and people who think it happened too fast. So it's been decades of people who didn't want the progress we've made on women's rights, equal rights, gay rights, and they want to undo that. They didn't want it to happen to begin with.
Yeah.
They want to conserve that old world mentality, that old patriarchy, right?
Yeah.
But on the progressive side, we haven't stayed united. They had a goal to overturn Roe v. Wade for 50 years, and they kept voting R. If you got an R, you're on my side. You want to overturn Roe. I'm going to vote for you. That was it. That was all they needed.
Yeah.
We have not stayed united when we have a bunch of different things we actually agree on, and then we stop when it comes to one thing. And for example, a lot of the protests we saw after October 7th, they went away recently after Trump got elected. And I wonder why. Maybe it's because we told them that if Trump gets elected, he's going to deport you for protesting for that. Kamala would not have done that. So the people who didn't vote for Kamala and you were protesting, saying she was the problem or they were going to be the problem, you weren't being pragmatic long term. Now, we can definitely pull our candidates to be more progressive because Democrats have been leaning too far to the middle to meet Republicans in the right, and Republicans just kept going further right. But they managed to unite the extreme right and their moderates, so-called moderates, while we kept trying to meet them, and they kept throwing their, it's like Obama would reach his hand out to them, and they would bite it.
Yeah.
And, Democrats, frankly, need to stop trying to pretend that we need to meet them in the middle because we look like we're not really any different than they are ultimately. If you don't have more progressives running, and if we don't vote for them in the primaries to get them into position in general where we can see them actually be a difference towards the Republican candidate, then we're not offering voters enough of a choice. But at the same time, there are places where we are too conservative overall as a nation that if we have a candidate that we have on our side that isn't as progressive as we'd like, in the general, we should be more pragmatic and suck it up. Be adults and vote for them. Make sure we're still progressing overall, even if we don't have the perfect progressive candidate. Purity tests backfire. we actually hurt ourselves being self-destructive, like Obama saying, pursuing the perfect at the cost of the good, right? Or however he said it. But
Yeah.
I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot expecting too much, but at the same time, I do appreciate people out there on the left, you could say even the extreme left, trying to pull us back to be more progressive so we can offer voters a better choice. Because
Got it.
frankly, leaning to the middle, we haven't really distinguished ourselves enough in a way to say, this is what we vote for, this is what we support. We do not marginalize anybody. We do not blame one group for our problems. We don't
Yeah.
blame immigrants. We don't blame transgender people. We are for all Americans, for all rights. And why aren't you? And
Yeah.
then move on to policy. Focus on policy more. Don't let them make you get trapped into these social fights that they want to have that are distractions.
And they've done a
frankly.
good job doing that, right?
So I guess that's what I would say as far as any of my advice to the party overall or people out there voting.
Thank you. And I appreciate that. W-Dubs, one last point that I wanted to make, though, or ask you. In terms of the education of the electorate, what is your opinion about that?
Well, that's the primary problem, really. An educated electorate would not have fallen for a con artist 3 times. An educated electorate wouldn't be simping for billionaires thinking, let's give them more money, that'll work. Let's give corporations a tax cut because they're so benevolent, it'll definitely help us in the end. We saw what I was trying to debate somebody they don't seem to understand. A lot of this started when Reagan cut the taxes on the top bracket from 70% to 50%. And then it got down to 30. And then they put Democrats in a position where, oh, you're going to raise taxes. You're just going to raise taxes. And it became a talking point instead of an actual understanding of policy and that what helps the middle class. That's why wages have stagnated. The bottom 90%, we've only increased 15% since 1979. The top 1%, 138% of their income has increased versus 15% for the bottom 90 over 45 years.
Wow.
And that's since Reagan. That's trickle down. That's not trickling down. It's hurting
Wow.
us. The idea that giving billionaires, and then in the end, Elon himself, look, how much money does he have? He hasn't paid that much in taxes. His company earned $10 billion over 3 years and paid $48 million in taxes. It should have been $2 billion.
Wow.
Even with Trump's cut, I mean, really, it should have been $3 billion with what Obama had in place. But they don't want to talk about the policies and examine them because they've kind of combined voting Republican along with their religion. It's like voting for a Democrat's going to send you to hell. That's how their mindset is. And we need
Wow.
to change the idea that we are not enemies. We are not your enemies. We are actually the ones looking out for you. Biden was looking out for you. Trump lied to you during a pandemic and made your
Facts.
lives worse. Biden
Facts.
had to clean that up. Obama took over a disaster from Republicans, and what'd they do? Harass him for his birth certificate. How's that helpful to the rest of us?
And the tan suit. Exactly.
They never do anything with their power except attack those that they don't like. But they don't lift anybody else up. They don't lift even unless they're already wealthy. There's no point in voting for Republicans. I don't see it. They're not winning. So when you say, "Well, we won," what'd you win? The fact that you live on liberal tiers shows you that Republicans have got you wrapped. They don't need to deliver things like the health care plan they promised 12 years ago or Trump 9 years ago. They know they got you. They know they can lie to you. They've got you so wrapped up in their ideology and the idea that somehow we're evil and they're not, that you've been manipulated to basically be self-destructive.
Bingo. And we're watching it happen and unfold in our very eyes. Well, listen, Dubs, I appreciate you, brother, but Big Zeus has to
thank
get
you,
up
man.
out of here. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, W-Dubs. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to get up out of here. What an incredible show. I cannot believe I stayed on this long. You all deserve a huge round of applause. I'm not even going to get into all of it. I'm completely, I got to move on. But you all take care and stay safe out there in those TikTok streets. Don't do nothing I wouldn't do. We're out of here. Take care. Wow. I was supposed to be off in 1 hour. But we had to have that conversation. Thank you, Dubs. Thank you all the panelists that came up here. MAGA, make no mistake. This was nothing but some internal business that needed to be settled, and then I'll be back tomorrow. We'll continue to do the work that I've been doing. Ow! Let's go. Have a great rest of your morning, ladies and gentlemen. We did it. Have a great rest of your morning. Stay safe out there in those TikTok streets. And don't keep falling for the lies and the misinformation, all right? Do not let the spin the win. Let's go, let's go. Finger bell. What a great show. I appreciate every single one of you. I see you, April. I see you, Dawn. You want the sunglasses? Drill, baby, drill, and then we're out of here.
Pennsylvania Energy. She was getting killed in the polls. And we will, Frank Drill, we're going to do some drill, baby.
All right, I'm not going to do the whole song, but I'll give you a dose, all right? You've been working so well.
Insane asylums. You know, they go crazy when I say the late, great Hannibal Lecter. Drill, baby, drill, we're gonna frack. Drill, there's a frack. He's a baby, there's a lesson in the pain. She's gonna pay, you know she's gonna pay, kid. Up in there, she was against, fucking against all the stuff.
Hey, let's go.
All the time, everybody here to Africa.
What did she say?
She
said, I like fracking very much, but they always go back to what they want. They always go back. She can't help it. She's a radical.
She can't help it. And we will frack.
And drill, baby, drill.
We're gonna drill, baby, drill.
We're ruffling some feathers this morning.
So deep, we're gonna be full.
Thank you, Valerie.
We're gonna drill. We're gonna take out so much money.
We're gonna pay down your debt. We're gonna lower your taxes. Deep insane asylum. You know they go crazy when I say the late great Hannibal.
Drill, baby, drill. We're gonna frack. Drill, baby, drill. Like it's
Hannibal Lecter. Let's go. Here it goes.
Insane asylums. You know, they go crazy when I say.
What do they say?
The late, great Hannibal Lecter. They say,
why would you mention Hannibal Lecter? Why? What are you going to do?
we're going to lower your taxes. Deep insane asylums. You know, they go crazy when I say the late, great Hannibal. Drill, baby,
All right, that's my favorite part. All right, ladies and gentlemen, take care and stay safe out there in those TikTok streets. We are out of here.